Good. Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive authors to come and share their work with us. So that's it. We're going to get rolling here because we're getting a little bit of a late start. And first up is Gabe. And Gabe, I want to congratulate you because your book just dropped today, right?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, congrats on your release here. I just want to know, do you want me to link the Blogspot link? Is that okay, or do you want a direct link somewhere to the book in the tweet?
Link the what? I'm sorry.
Do you want me to link what William just linked in the chat?
Yeah, because that goes. Okay. That's like right to me. Like.
Gotcha. Okay.
Fuck the big A.
Yeah.
Yeah. As these guys were saying, I just came out with a new poetry book called Hymns from the Whipping Post, From Close to the Bone, First Cut Poetry. And yeah, we'll just go into it. I'm gonna do like 4 or 5. This one's called Flesh in the Ether. I saw her image in the ether, supple flesh that I once traveled, her lifting up her dress, exposing what was beneath her. What can justify the fatalist response now from the baffled? The photo doesn't fade away, decisive as I left her. And I know God made her this way, but now who will protect her? The frame fully developed, now I can't give her direction because I can't cease my staring at her, searching for my reflection. And this next one is called Impotent Cremations. Sincerity shall inflame the insincere who incinerate receipt tape flowing from my behind. I even gave correct change from every currency I was up against. Yet in the ashes on hoarded time, kicking up dust, now dust blind. My eyes wide, only I can put the periods at the end of my lines. This is how you get whole again. This is how you go home again. The hole I've dug myself to lie in for a smaller gathering of only my closest friends. And this is called Signs of Life Support. The saddest part, nobody knows. The mystery, where will the money come from? More like, where does all the money go? Tonight's poorly attended for a poorly ended legacy that might have stood a chance, but the bar's safe is up someone's nose. It doesn't feel celebratory. It just feels like the end. Just take it off life support already. It barely feels like a legend. No, you should have been there, heresy, until the Kerns rescue the night from post-mortem obscurity. It's usually the songs he sings, but tonight it's what's said in between. There was a time where we'd play out here, no charge to get in because it's so far out here. So just because you showed up, we'd already win. We'd pass the hat around, split it up at the end, but tonight all the money goes to the house. It's allegedly a benefit to save the bar from eviction. Aggressive developers, I don't know, the man. Yet the owner is somewhere or something else. Does anybody know the plan? Earlier they had no change for 20. Now no one's even tending bar. Even the alcohol has stopped working. When you're used to swimming in shit, you learn to love your shit dive with high turnovers, bad plumbing, and bloodshot owners. These cutting coroners dutifully embalming the living before anyone can learn what killed us. I mean, let's be honest here. This night ain't benefiting anything except Bill, the owner's going away party. We snicker, squirm somberly. Hope Bill's not here, is here to hear it all. I say, fuck it, I can't take it. I get up to leave, but duty calls. And tonight my friend is going to pass the hat around because tonight your money goes to the house of cards, he says, handing me his wide brim, and we made it rain under the desert stars. It's called Intimacy of Rodents in Tight Spots. Valium with the V's pressed out on a string, a candy bracelet around the wrist. Fist holds a 40 ounce, take a bite like you mean it, an undulated sip to wash it down. While we all showed him the sewers, in the end, Rat Boy freaked us out. When his own gutter overfloweth, floating us to church service, not to worship merely viewers, consuming Rat Boy, his final image to burn our brains. Now, if only we could learn to pray in permanence. And this last one I'm going to read, I actually owe a debt to William. It started out as just a obscure tweet, and he's all, dude, that's a poem, and I turned it into a poem. So it's called Shelter to Cinder. I tore apart the tweaker shack, now firewood for the winter. My little way of getting back at them when they burn their shelter to cinder. The field mice escaped to bunk with me, assuming they were evading flame. Yet all I'm doing here, waiting for the half-sane human being to earn my healing, a reason to learn the discipline of a controlled burn. And that's it.
God damn, Gabe, those rock. All of these poems, obviously I haven't read the whole collection yet, but judging by the ones you just read, there's a really powerful apocalyptic vibe here. Each of those poems felt like it was written like at the end of time, you know, and just an utterly like dystopian moment. And oh my God, the one about the bar is such a good like subversion of that kind of story, right? Because there are so many like cute little like movies and TV episodes about, oh, we're gonna save the bar everyone loves. We're gonna
right.
And your take on that is so completely cynical. Like it's already fucking done. It's already dead, and everyone is just there to snark. And it's good. It's really fucking good.
Cool.
Okay,
I'm glad that came across.
Awesome poems, Gabe.
Cool.
And the book is out today. Plug the book just a little more before you're done.
Oh yeah, no, thanks to Rudy too. Rudy gave a great blurb on the back of it, and I think even that came from just a simple, you know, him tweeting out one of these Misery Loves Company things. So I took it right from that.
The blurb was really good because when I read the first half of it, I was like, oh, Rudy, like, because blurbs, some of them are like really, even from, they're not good. And I was like, oh, that's a cliche. And then, you know, then the second part hits and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I should have known. I should have known it's coming from Rudy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I really like your use of fire here. I mean, I guess that's obvious since I made that blurb, but like the use of like, and like William said, the apocalyptic nature of them. But there's one in here. I have the book in front of me because I not the physical book, but I bought it off the A site, I guess, because I can read it on.
That's awesome, man. Thank you.
I can read it on my Kindle, and I needed more stuff to put on my Kindle. But there's one in here called Checkmates of Tactility that I really, really, really dig. And it has a line in there that basically it's well, I can read it. It's short if that's fine.
Yeah,
just to demonstrate.
the honor.
The boiled down elemental masochism of true love, longing for the attentive feeling of somebody against you. I love that last part of somebody, that like the dualism, the duality of that. And you do a lot of stuff in there that's like that. That's like, you know, that where it means two different things or means multiple different things. And I really, really dig that because that's kind of my gig too. So I love it.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Gabe. Thanks, Rudy. Michael's up next.
Cool. Let me just share this. Cool. All right. So this is a first draft of a story. So apologies for any weirdness in the text. Still working on it. It's called The Verse. In the spring, I swore off liquor, gaming in Massachusetts, and moved into a 4-floor boarding house in the city. My early days in that heap were uneventful. 12-hour shifts as a copywriter in the downtown Brooklyn grid, the haunted moon phases of online dating, beers rooftop shared in holy defiance at the deep night skyline, the crossover lights we felt destined to rule. I spent my extra cash on cigarette packs and $2 chicken pate, then lectured the mewling alley cats they gathered before dawn. I felt literary, wrote little, stayed offline. Some people still wore masks those days. One of my housemates worked PR for a few tech startups and for a time paid me to type up press releases in exchange for that good throwaway kind of money. When summer arrived, a moist heat lurked in the streets. Ivies conquered our neglected backyard. Kittens matured and fucked their brothers and sisters in the weeds. Everyone's phones ran hot and there was no quiet anywhere. Halfway through July, the housemate invited me to a metaverse media party in Greenpoint. Something about the collision of finance and virtual life. It sounded like the kind of place where one could confuse locusts for people. But I went. Maybe I thought I'd find a full-time job or kill some time before a dinner date. Or maybe I wanted to ramble at strangers about how they'd merged religion and gaming, adding a new godless tithe for this late digital age. They converted a co-working space into a product circus, booths and tables adorned with insipid swag. Light beer glittered in small plastic cups as the light from the broad windows hit them. People moved in galactic arms, and all the chatter about was whether something in the room could be the next big thing. I didn't see my housemate, so I stood at the back of a crowd for a product called Synapse Drive. It seemed like one of those VR headsets I'd seen around town on trains and parks. The demonstrator gestured like a neo-Baptist and said the light guided everything. I sipped my beer and thought about the exit. As I watched, the gathered few stood by the demo table and tried on the headset. The demonstrator used a tablet computer connected to the headset by coiled wires. One by one, the attendees pointed, clapped, and moved on. They all rubbed their temples for a few moments after activation, I noticed. Want to try? The demonstrator asked me as the crowd dissipated. Sure, I said. We're calling it pay to jump, the demonstrator explained, like you're a walking, talking internet cafe. There's also a free model with ads, but nothing too invasive. Okay, I said, then asked, so I need to pay? No, you can try out the free one, unless you want to give the premium version a try. The free one sounds fine, I said. The headset was heavy and its dull vibrations echoed through my body. Its design felt invasive, like 1,000 tiny fingers were searching for a way through my skin and into my mind. The visor plate washed the world violet. Ready? The demonstrator asked. Whenever you are, I said. I felt the headset hum. All at once, reality white-holed exuberant color across every surface. Portals opened all around me, search engines at my fingertips. I drew in a breath and tasted the information like an electrostatic copper. My body swelled as if my spirit was ready to burst through my skin, become all digital, free of my organs, my inhibitions, the dark things I whispered in moments of piteous fear. I gripped the table beside me to remember the feel of what was true. My temples felt agitated and I reached to soothe them. I needed to massage my brain to remind me that we were still in control. But was I? I started to say I don't know, and then discomfort bloomed, sharpened to pain, then morphed to outright agony. My jaw swung, fled north, tried to tear itself from my face. I smelled fire, rot, and feared I was full of something like lava. I tore the headset away. It clattered at my feet, and the demonstrator swooped to seize it. What the hell? They demanded. The world blazed. Surfaces and people flashed cell shade, then back to normal. I looked at my hands. Ones and zeros pulsed through the veins in my fingers. Fix this, I stammered. Fix this. Let me see. Okay, I'm the only one here now. Hold on, I'm gonna text somebody. Every breath and anvil press, I managed to stay upright. I looked at the demonstrator. Their body blinked as if their signal was about to die. Ads for NFT sales and tech conferences sprouted from their skin like mushrooms. As they spoke to me, I saw inside their mouth a maw of capitalism, a tongue in the shape of a coin, razor-sharp checkout kiosks, the unholy song of the dollar. The event continued around me, attendees chirping like bickering birds, eyes aflame, networks linked, blind from the constant flow of input, the immediate, the absolute now. We can try running you through again, the demonstrator said as they helped me stand, but I think you'll need to pay this time. How much? The first login is $200. No, I said, no. I couldn't stop saying the word. This frightened me, so I staggered in the direction of the exit. The demonstrator shouted something. I hit the doors and shoved through. The late day sunlight speared me. Group texts and bouncing bulbous letters followed passerby like Greek choirs. At the street corner, the crossing signals pointed and laughed. I reached the other side, grasping my chest as I breathed like a bellows, and my panic rambling sought meaning in chat bubbles in front of my face. I thrashed the air and tried to scatter the words. They twisted back like angry wasps and clung to me. Fonts flick shifted, dug into my skin. I howled, swiped them away, fled south, kept my eyes down, tried to believe they weren't giving chase. I was supposed to meet my date in Clinton Hill, someplace small and near the trains. They waited for me at the bar. The lighting inside was low and the reverberations of the world seemed to recede, as did the pain in my head. They turned as I entered, and as best I could, I mimicked the ritualistic smile of recognition demanded of an online first date. Tough time finding the place? They asked. You have no idea. We discussed our mutual love of gin, so we ordered a pair with tonic. The relatively quiet draped over me like a blanket. My date told me about the fintech startup they worked for, something about the seamless exchange of cash. I chewed ice and nodded and tried my best to listen. But it's all, they said. I need out of this city. How come? It's all too connected, right? People need some distance from some things, spaces in between. Like rural life? I don't know. Maybe. Hard to know unless you're there. Yeah. Someone fired up a pinball machine in the back of the bar. The schizo chime noises rattled me, flared my senses. I gripped the countertop to keep myself from falling off the stool. You all right? The date asked. Yeah, yes, it's like you said. Everything is so, connected. Oh my God, right? Right as you say that, I get a text from my boss. Unreal. They took their phone from their pocket. I covered my eyes as its screen roared to life, lost my grip on the counter, smashed to the floor. Static shock questions about objectives and deadlines swarmed me, like they'd struck spirit from my skin, sent it up in an oil rush geyser. I wanted to faint. My date helped me to my feet, but I knew it was over. I stammered something about how you're really great, but it's bad timing. Isn't that always the thing? Let's text later before charging for the door. Night awaited me. My skin crawled with the words from my date's phone. I tried to swat them away, but they dug in. Brooklyn was alive. It was Saturday night. Peak connection, relentless attention, the day-to-dayific. I crashed through crowds, turned corners, sought silence. I entered a triangular park where the air seemed cooler and I could fall and grope grass and beg the earth for a damn soiled moment, but then a subway entrance nearly spewed the next mad crowd. The eruption carved its own weather and buried me in word drifts, image fog. The partiers slashed at the air with their phones, laughing, sobbing, all the in-between. I lost sight of the one steady thing, the wide-eyed starlight above. My own phone chattered, monkey mad, unquenchable. Pings, rings, sonics meant to mimic the tones of yesterday. I staggered to the curb and tossed it into traffic, desperate for one last testament of quiet. The gnash of a double-length electric bus crushed the phone to pieces. Its echo waves crashed against the sidewalk and tossed me. The bus snarled a pothole and kept rolling. I crawled to a bench, pulled myself up, hugged my arms as close to my chest as I could. I couldn't feel my hands. The buildings around me loomed like they wanted answers, like they were prepared to beat it out of me. A red strobe clock tower spun nearby like a hypocrite. I felt around in my pockets. No keys to get home, no money to guide the path, no means to awaken. I wept a luminescence that rivered down my body and pooled at my feet. It was beautiful, accursed, the compounding, confounding everything. Information everywhere, information nowhere. That's it.
Gabe, sorry, Michael, what a great final line there. That information everywhere, information nowhere. This is a really fascinating piece. Michael, I think you're like unique because of like your line of work, right? And because of the information that you have access to. I think you're uniquely well suited to write like near future tech horror, and I think you've leaned on your knowledge here in a really effective way. I especially like the way you set the scene at the beginning where you say like some people were still wearing masks, so you like immediately have that as a point of reference that this is the near future, right? And I think that's so much more clever and like subtle than being like, oh yeah, the year like 2024 or whatever, or year 20. You do a great job of like setting the environment here and setting the stage. And obviously like you're tied into that fintech world, right? And And so when you paint the party scene where like people are kind of like, mingling and networking and trying to push their product, like that feels so vivid and real. I don't know. It's really effective. It's really
Thank you.
effective
Appreciate that.
because you create a very plausible reality before you jump off into the sci-fi premise. And I think that makes it very effective.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This was another like recent nightmare I had. Like some of the details I added, but I generally dreamt that this happened to me, and it like really fucked me up for a few hours when I woke up, and I was like the stuff where I tried to like try on this headset, and then suddenly like the world was half in, half out, and it was not a great way to wake up. So yeah, I tried to turn it into a story. So no, I appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Now you
Well,
can feel how this dream like really taps into your day-to-day anxieties, right? Some of your dream pieces are like wonderfully like abstract and really like kind of spectral and apocalyptic and set in like some distant moment. This one really feels like you had a bad day at work and you went home and you were still carrying that anxiety, and it manifested as something like terrifying and beautiful. So that's great.
and that the nightmare connection is really interesting because like you have a part where I guess in your nightmare, presumably you go into this virtual space, which is really like a weird Inception kind of like weirdness. Like that's awesome. And the way you write about it is amazingly like vivid and detailed. Like the stuff about how people are cell shaded when they, you get back to reality, and it's just that's wild.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael. And once again, I just want to press you to do a collection that includes all of your dream pieces together, because I think they fit together well. And I'm going to keep pushing you to do that until you do.
I appreciate that push. I'm trying to like be more consistent about a dream journal. So no, your remarks are not going unheard. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Jesse's up next.
Okay. I'm going to read two excerpts from my spy novel that I've been trying to work on, trying to stay with. There's two excerpts. The first one is about two women who are sort of contractors trying to get information out of the guy who works for the CIA. And the second one is about this terrorist that one of the main characters is trying to learn about, and he's in a training camp. So let me just read this. And I want to say one thing that I think is really valuable about Misery Loves Company is that not only is it a sort of open mic reading series, as we all know, but it's also kind of like a laboratory to read your stuff after you write it and see what it sounds like and see if there's like problems or clumsinesses in it. So I appreciate that factor too. Let me start reading. The strategy that put Maria onto Kaftola came into being because of what happened in October in London. The news of the Zawahiri letter was all over the news from Iraq. The Zawahiri letter was like a hot girl trying to make her way from one side of a restaurant full of horny US senators to the other without revealing she was really a man in a ball gown and an Adam's apple out to here. 6,000 words of high strategy in Arabic recovered from some intelligence source in the field, a laptop in smoky, fiery, war-torn Iraq. Trevor Berg might know. Trevor Berg was from the CIA and he wasn't supposed to be meeting with Maria and Solvay. Indicia were like groupies declared off limits by the rock star's STD spooked manager. But nevertheless, Solvay and Maria shared a meeting with him in October 2005 at the British Museum to talk about a few things. The intercepted letter from Zawahiri to Zarqawi that the Director of National Intelligence, John Negroponte, had just published on the DNI's website. In the letter, Zawahiri tells Zarqawi to cool it with the beheadings, stop horrifying the Muslim world with mass casualty suicide attacks on Shia targets, and hits Zarqawi up for money. People were already devouring it as a fake. The women were in the ancient Persia room, which was having an exhibition on Zoroastrian angelology, partially because it was fascinating, but mostly because They could keep an eye on the entrance and exit to see if they're being followed for this very secret meeting. Trevor was already there, sitting on a bench in the center of the gallery, wearing a black corduroy jacket and turtleneck with a blue umbrella. Maria had gone out on a date with him once or twice in the wasteland years and perceived he thought she was quite boring. He was always trying to get Maria to do things like jump in a fountain or commit acts of pickpocketing on tourists in the underground. He would nonchalantly let Maria know when he picked her up for a date that he was driving a stolen car and that he was trying to lose a tail. Contacting CIA in the UK was easy enough with the women at Indicia that the women knew at Indicia that they would get the official door slammed in their faces. They were just independent contractors, junior partners way down the food chain, and like low-level entertainment reporters and paparazzi trying to get a few minutes with Uber celebrities, getting to see CIA beyond just a bland pleasantry was difficult, if not impossible, which was why it was good to have a few fingers in Trevor Berg's pocket. Ladies, he said when he saw Maria and Solvay enter the room, there was no one else in the gallery. Zoroastrian angelology is an acquired taste. Trevor, you're looking dashing, Solvay said. She stood in front of the bench where he sat while Maria went around the perimeter of the room stalling for time. Didn't want to approach and seem too desperate as she was certain Trevor still wanted her as a bed ornament. She had dressed up for the occasion of seeing Trevor, mostly stopped with glimmers of go for those clever enough to see it, which Trevor was. He knew Maria was married, but like many men of his generation and background, other men's wives' wedding rings were just artifacts of history, no more pertinent to the present than the decorative jugs and vases in the British Museum around them. What's on your alluring pair of minds? Trevor asked. Ask her, Solvay said. I'm just a chaperone. Oh, no need for chaperones here. Nonsense, Solvay said. The countdown to the threesome invite has already begun. You do me wrong, Trevor said. Maria stepped closer, sat down next to Trevor on the bench. The Zawahiri letter to Zarqawi that Negroponte put out. Is it a fake? Why would you ask me that? You would know. CIA is not telling. Of course it's not a fake. Al-Qaeda says it's a fake. Zarqawi says it's a fake. All kinds of commentators are saying Zawahiri would never address a Sunni compatriot like that with a flowery Shia greeting. Are you so sure it's flowery and Shia? Maria looked at him. Trevor went on. Maybe Zawahiri is just kidding around. You never give these guys credit for being wits. I'm sure Zawahiri is a barrel of monkeys. If it's a fake, it's clever. It does all kinds of things. It cuts in different directions. It paints Zarqawi in a bad light in Muslim eyes. It points out the ugliness of beheadings and targeting Shia Iraqis. It strips him away from his audience and support. Sounds good to me, Trevor said. A young art school woman entered the gallery, looked around dreamily, took out a notepad and started scribbling notes about the exhibit. Solvay stared her down. The message is cooling down a hothead, Maria said. There's little chatter in jihadi online forums about it, but tons of speculation from Western commentators. Is this a fake? Is it a forgery? An older gentleman with an attractive younger woman came into the gallery and went straight for the urns painted with Sarasha, Rashtu, and Mithra, the three keepers of the Chinvat bridge which all souls must cross into the afterlife. The older man looked like a professor, thick glasses and a shuffle. The younger woman may be a niece or daughter. They seemed to share an air of erudition peculiar to academic families of members about them. Solvay and Maria stared at the couple as Trevor talked, relinquishing the old man and his niece to a tentative, accepting vigilance as they tittered and gestured at the artifacts. What do you want from me? Trevor Berg's voice sounded like an exhausted hiss. We want to know what you know, Solvay said. Why would I know the answer to this? You're all we could get to talk to us. The station chief's silence on this speaks whole Encyclopedia Britannicas. Half-assed, Maria knows. It was a gamble. Zarqawi's a boogeyman to scare the American public into staying in Iraq, Maria said. He may not even be a real person. Oh, he's real, all right. Don't put on the tinfoil hat. It doesn't suit you. A party of foreign teenagers who seemed lost trickled into the gallery in manners of distraction and bewilderment that seemed like a put-on. There was not one know-it-all among them which stretched credulity. One or two of the youngsters could have been operators, talent plucked out of spy incubators in Russia or China, for looking way younger than their age. ethnically under the radar for their target country, like actors in US teen movies who are actually Australian 30-somethings, experts at the accent. Maria stared at them as they wandered around. Trevor Berg looked at the side of her face and sneered. This game is taking a toll on you, Maria. Seeing angles where everything was all smooth. Zawahiri never wrote that letter. In a few months, there will be thousands more dead, and Zawahiri's letter will sink under the surface, Berg said. The eyeballs that suck it up now will move on to other content. But the message behind the message will persist, Maria said. Don't spend too much time looking for behinds, Berg said. That's all I do, and it gets me nowhere. This made him laugh. I know there's some sophisticated propaganda maneuver you all are pulling, Maria said. I'd just like to be in on it, that's all. We could help each other. Show me how you'd help me. Maria looked at Solvay. Solvay will have dinner with you, she said. It was like handing off a baton. She's not married. Solvay gave away a microsecond of startled imbalance before diving into it as if she were at the Tehran airport at customs. Sure. They went to Honky Tonk in Chelsea that weekend. Solvay ordered the most expensive, rare thing on the menu, the Glam Burger, for an outlandish 1,100 pounds. 220 grams of Kobe beef, New Zealand venison, Canadian lobster, truffle brie, Iranian saffron, beluga caviar, and a hickory smoked duck egg covered in gold leaf, all in a brioche bun. The egg was almost as golden as the ingot of intelligence Berg had supplied Maria with before the date, info about CIA's devious propaganda efforts against Al-Qaeda. Solvay went out to drinks and dancing with Berg before pulling defensive countermeasures on him defter than any elevator switcher in Dubai. She went back to his place under the tractor beam of his sleazy charm and got out of it by pretending to forget her birth control, knowing that Trevor would be without protection as he would want to stealth his way into a raw dog situation, a proclivity Solvay clocked the intelligence officer as surely as Putin guessing the color of Yulia Tymoshenko's panties, orange for the revolution. Solvay promised Berg she'd be right back, leaving him in dishabille in his reptilian love pit before dodging away to the corner store for condoms like a randy, ill-prepared college student making a midnight side quest for her man. While on this sojourn, she got ensnared in an imbroglio involving a fictional fender bender with a visiting dignitary from Malawi enjoying London nightlife. She telephoned Trevor from the streets, promising him a second chance at furthering his hard power objectives, carrot and stick, a second chance which disappeared into the wind like a Saudi oil prince's falafel fart. In Mali, Kaftola wakes up next to Mariam, asks himself what day it is. All days people thought seems to have run together, and he doesn't know when it is, where he is, who he is, if he is. He soaks up his surroundings and recognizes her. He lives apart from her most days, so now there is a gap between them. Their bodies are not in tune anymore. And when he looks at her with bleary eyes, there bursts a time-release delay of poor recognition. Once that happens, he sees that Mariam looks so small in the narrow bed next to him. His wife looks so deeply unhappy in her sleep. He wants to be away from her, wishes to himself that he never met her, but she's part of the war package now. Kaftola is minutes later on a loose laptop at the training camp down a Wikipedia rabbit hole. He points and clicks on the link for Mahmoudiya, but the hyperlink always at the last millisecond jumps. The screen refreshes in a position several centimeters above or below. The link escapes his cursor and he clicks on something else entirely, never able to read the article. Some living force motivated from inside the computer doesn't want him to read about the American war crime. It's the people who run Wikipedia. It's George Bush. It's some patriot in Silicon Valley. It's the CIA conspiring against anybody reading about how, in March 2006, a group of American soldiers from the 502nd Infantry Regiment entered a house in Mahmoudiya, Iraq, killed the man of the house and his wife, took the 14-year-old daughter Abir Qasim Hamza al-Janabi, gang raped her, did bukkake all over her terrified face. Kaftola has heard from others at the Rabat al-Tanzi that There are pictures on the World Wide Web of her wild, rolling, desperate eyes. She's down on her knees in the middle of a circle of camouflaged American boys photographed from the waist down with their orgasming dicks out. He's looked but can't find it, really wants to see that. They shot her 6-year-old sister when she was making too much noise. Then, when they got done playing with the 14-year-old girl, the leader, Private Green, took her in another room and blew her brains out. The soldiers were angry because one of theirs had been killed a few days before, so this was revenge and letting off a little steam. They set fire to the scene to cover up for it and later told Iraqi soldiers that Sunni extremists did it. Kaftallah had heard the story but wanted to read about it on Wikipedia. He wanted the official Western confirmation that only the internet could give him. He wanted to see it if it in 3 or 4 months had percolated up to that layer of reality, that online authority which could be accessed by those who paid the taxes supporting these evildoers in their safe homes in America. Their mouse cursors perhaps jumped around like crickets too, preventing the curious eyes from ever seeing the Wikipedia entry on war crimes. Some glitch interfered with the safe, comfortable ones ever reading about what was happening in their name. And if it wasn't a glitch in the computer, it was a glitch upstairs that won't allow Hiroshima or Dresden in, that blurs My Lai into pixels, muffles decades of cries from Palestine, and short circuits televisions the week of Abu Ghraib. The feed in the American hat that would otherwise carry the painful truth of responsibility is interrupted with natural endorphins blocking pain receptors, commercials, alcohol, sex, Hollywood. The only way to break through the haze of dulled American nerves would be to deliver a blow, a reminder, a sharp dagger pinning their American hand to the keyboard, the remote control, the gas pump, somewhere they couldn't squirm away from it. How real does the story need to be to launch Abir avenging operations? It's real, all right. Haftallah knows, he just knows. Iraq is popping off with new violence in her name that won't end until there are lakes of US blood in the streets. None of the hyperlinks are working right today. Mariam is still asleep. For safety, he looks over at her snoozing. It's just Kaftallah in this room on his laptop. A phenomenon Kaftallah has noticed is that sometimes a shift happens in the porn world. He comes to like a porn star, not Jenna Jameson, Brianna Banks, or Tara Patrick, or any of the other big names of 2005, 2006, but somebody way down the food chain. And through the course of his secret, thorough knowledge of the landscape, her links decay or go inactive or are brought up by another's. Some behind the scenes power struggle over links occurs. An unfortunate porn star's hyperlinks get eaten up and absorbed by a dominant one, while keeping the loser porn star's name on the surface, so that when Kaftallah clicks on her name expecting to see her, he gets the one who mastered her and took over all her traffic, erasing her and all the men who fucked her, names that are even more elusive, portraits in a gallery at war with each other, replacing each other with replicas of themselves. Abul Haseb, Kaftallah's master, who will be speaking to the camp in an hour, would not be able to keep a record of everywhere Kaftallah has been. The man is not that smart. Looking at the undeleted search history of a laptop at the Rubat Al Tanzi shows everything about the priorities of the men there. Every hyperlink Kaftallah clicks on, or anyone indeed, Wikipedia, porn, or in between is recorded, etched on a gold plate that Allah keeps on his person until Judgment Day, when every active man will be brought into the light for him to explain. That's it.
Jesse, everything you've read from this spy novel is so fucking good, and this is no exception. The first section is phenomenal, but that second section is beyond phenomenal. The way you describe the work, the like almost mystical, spiritual way you describe the like weird inner workings of the internet, right? The way that like like tech glitches and like just the like general like wonkiness of the internet becomes kind of like transformed into this kind of like supernatural force within the mind of this guy who's a deeply spiritual, deeply superstitious guy. It's so fast. It's like such a fascinating way to capture that psychology and such a like riveting way to present it in text. I don't know, Jesse, I continue to just be every little detour that you go on, you go off on in these spy novel excerpts is so fucking good. Like just the paragraph about the burger. As someone who's like watched his share of like guilty pleasure YouTube videos where they're like, how does this $5 hamburger compare to this $1,500 hamburger? All of the details there were pitch perfect and so funny. Anyway, Jesse, this is phenomenal. It's so good.
Thank you. That burger is for real. There really is an 1,100-pound burger in London that has all those ingredients.
Wait, that's a real burger? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my
Can you
god.
imagine 1,100 pound, whatever pound translates to in dollars?
Is it one of those stupid like the bun is wrapped in gold burgers?
Yeah, something like that.
God damn it, dude.
Oh man, yeah, that kind of, oh man. But that, I just want to say, Jesse, like I love how so much of this language is like ambiguous and slippery, just like spy shit, would be, but it's got all kinds of these like visual references that are culturally significant, as far as like spy movies and stuff. Like the last paragraph on page 6, where you're talking about like tractor beams, and then you have the Dubai elevator quote that's like referencing like, like this Born Identity style elevator action and stuff like that. Like it's so like perfect because it like visually you're getting one image, but you're reading something else. Like you're reading like some like really subversive like weirdness. But also I love how like all of these all your spy stories like punctuate the spy stuff with really, really nasty fucking realism. Like the hyperlink segment there was really insanely good with like the ludicrously crazy bukkake rape sequence there. And like, but like it's over the top, but like it's grounded in like Abu Ghraib and like, Nick Berg and, that shit. It's really, really just phenomenal. This is just amazing.
That case of that 14-year-old girl it really did happen in March of 2006.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And those soldiers who did it were all found guilty and sent to prison.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
it was a horrifying moment in an already horrifying war.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of revenge, because I guess news of it got out pretty fast to, the other side, the Iraqis.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I love that. I love the back and forth. Like it's like Whiplash. Like you go from that section where they're doing intrigue stuff, and then you go to that, and it just falls into that so perfectly. It's great.
Thanks, Rudy.
Jesse, while I have you here, I just popped into my head. I think we're going to, hopefully this isn't a spoiler to anyone, but I think we're going to be running your Last Estate piece next Tuesday,
Okay.
if that's okay with you. In which case, if you want to make any revisions or anything, if you could just maybe get me a final draft by the end of the weekend.
Sure.
Awesome.
No problem.
Cool. So I guess spoiler alert, if anyone is
You
not
pulled
up-
that?
Huh?
Shit. They're like deadlines. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I was actually reading a piece about 1960s New Yorker. It was a parody of New Yorker, but it was about how their editor, the editor-in-chief at the time, would show up at reporters' places at like 2 a.m. because, of course, you couldn't even barely fax. I mean, you could fax, but anyways, he would show up at their place at like 2 a.m. and be like, "Where is it?" So good.
No, this is more on me than on Jesse. I keep forgetting to let him know when the piece is going to run, so I wanted to make sure I did it now while it was on my mind. Anyway,
Okay.
Thank you, Jesse. That was
Thank
awesome.
you.
So I need to. Who is up next? Just a second. I hope the entire reader list doesn't have to reload. Oh, it might. Rudy, can you tell me who's next on the list?
Yeah, on my end it's Kiko or Keckle.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Keckle. And
Keckle.
I have the link here I can paste if you need.
That would be great. Thank you, Rudy.
Could I possibly go after someone else? Because I just I turned up late and now I was eating and
Totally
I
fine.
have,
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.
unless I don't know, or whoever else.
And next up, it looks like Adam is up next, and I can paste the link for that one too if you'd like.
Awesome. That'd be great while my page refreshes here. Adam, it's all yours.
Okay. I have a short story called Maximo the Magnificent. As I sit down now to write, informed by my eyes of the old sandy knuckles that lay suspended over the keys before me, sober in my aspirations and not in the least taken by any delusions of eminence, for I am not formally trained in the object of writing, I am reminded of a certain inauguration set forth by Thomas Mann in a lesser known novel, his last, and it causes me to assemble in my mind a crushing sense of futility anent a project I've only just begun with all the keen eagerness of an owl with a shrew in its clutches. I admit of a certain defeat in advance, if you will, reflecting certainly that I have been sufficiently disciplined in the uses and misuses of the symbols before you, but also that I lack a certain element of being, an aspect of nature, a thing qualified in part by a mysterious attribute undeniably manifest, and yet illusory as the seven heads of a siren drowned at birth and never witnessed by the likes of mankind. It is with such anxieties that I set out presently to begin the fragmented history of my affairs, to impart to the reader who will happen upon me the story of my early life, so as not to let it die in the dark alcoves of my once unwounded heart. Flaubert once said, but perhaps it is not necessary to lend such gravitas to my work. I admit there is a temptation to quoting from Flaubert when living in France. In the little street beneath my modest flat on the Rue Breuil, I observed the shiny reflection of recent rain atop the wooden table where Madame Rayanne peddles her wares on Saturdays to the tourists. The tourists just adore X. Like the tabletop, the stones below me too are glimmering. Not so much as a foot has tread upon them since the clouds opened in the middle of the night. It is a very early hour, not even the bakers are bestirred. And here I am at the window, my little portico of daydreams and castle building, smoking the first cigarette of the day and giving the keys on this electric machine a patter patter under the soft light of the lamp. In my youth, I was most certainly the most harassed creature on earth. Father beat me dreadfully while mother kept me alive with miserable food and discolored water from the well in the color of seal brown. Father was greatly taxed at his job at the factory. When he arrived home, he would puff himself up out of all cognizable dimensions with his rum habit and lay into me. The boys in the slums beat me even worse than my father. They used to laugh ignominiously as they stuck the little tips of their knives into me, decrying me as a homosexual at the tender age of 10 and 2 years. Maximo El American, they called me. My older brother was among them. How they stabbed me and got away with it. All father could do was hit me in the face and advise that I would do better than to fall on other people's knives. And he adopted the appellation the boys had so generously gifted me. I was El American under my father's roof. May he rest with his worms eternally spiteful. I was born to the nation state of Spain and accepted all the gloomy and wretched sufferings the Commonwealth insists on delivering to her people by right of birth. It is a tragic country, far more tragic than the worst of the Balkans, for in Spain there is hope, a devastating hope. Spain, she is an abject whore, a house of centuries built on fire and torture. What does the world expect but that her people would deliver unto others the worst crimes and sins? When the rest of the world was singing, she was ushering in the auto da fe with gilded hands, a whole country of rogues and criminals. The people are anything but simple. Some of them make iron, some harvest, some of them even paint, but they are all prepared at a moment's notice to slit the throats of the passersby, and especially if they share the same tongue. In Spain, the devil is always escaping the mouths of the people. While other countries wage wars without, Spain kills off her progeny, leaving in her wake a history of gunpowder and blood-red crosses. In Spain, it is said that the people get the government they deserve, and they most certainly deserved Franco, the blackguard. It was 1936 when I was 12 years of age and taking my stabbings, and it was the year His Excellency, the Caudillo, was masturbating himself white as a sheet in the mirror. The camps were already underway. It is a naughty feature of the human condition that we are always finding ways of putting ourselves into camps. It can't happen in Spain today, they say, and they might be right. After Franco, Spain set up a nice little constitution for itself. If only there had been a fine piece of paper to stop Franco. He was at his liberty to dispatch anyone who happened to befall the misfortune of being on his mind. It was not long before my moniker made its way to official ears, first at the local level, and then out through some mischievous department. Thence went up the hue and cry. At 17, I was presented with the choice of fleeing or dying in camp. To lie with a man in Spain meant a death sentence, and they weren't handing out jury trials before the fall of the axe. I would have fled for France, but the Nazis were putting the knife to everyone not boasting the pearliest skin, and I am swarthy by virtue of a Moroccan lineage. Being a tawny, homosexual, anti-Franco Jewish emigre, I could not place all of my hopes in befriending a sweetheart like Hitler. So it was the sea for me. I snuck aboard a cargo ship bound for God knows where and wound up at a dock jutting out from the rocks at Malta. where I was discovered, beaten ridiculously, and thrown from a pier. During the ocean passage, I held out hope that the French would resume control of their republic. They seemed awfully better at managing their affairs than having their affairs managed for them by that little mustachioed brat with the grand ideas and the second-rate autobiography. I spent 4 years in Malta, wandering about Valletta mostly. I read some books and waited for the war to end. To make my bread, I did pantomime in the street. It was the only work available given my circumstances. I made a couple of friends who shared the craft. Rabia, a juggler from Cairo, and Adam, a native Maltese with a gift for sham levitating. Adam was murdered in an alley for a sack of figs on the day the Germans surrendered. I would never go back to Spain. In 1945, I made a successful passage to Marseille aboard the steamship Kidney Star. There I opened the bag of ashes I'd been carrying around with me since Adam's death. I was the only family he'd ever known, poor soul. I sprinkled his cinders at the old port, and the wind took him and blessed him and sent him into the hair of a woman on a bicycle. The food and wine in Marseille were the best on earth, so I was told. I hadn't the means for any of it, and was happy to find a piece of baguette or crepe not yet playing host to flies. Water and water closets were the hardest to come by, but not having one, I had no need for the other. For a country that drinks so much wine, there is very little space to make pee-pee with dignity. They'll sell you the best wines and hang you for your daring in asking after the WC. A Frenchman is very possessive of his toilet. It's right up there with the Seine in terms of national pride. I was able to rest my head at night in the alleyways and dead ends of that twinkling city on the sea. My landlords, the rats, being jealous of their pride, found it convenient to walk right over me and to check my pockets for fare. This they taxed from me along with a centime or two. The rats in Marseille are as crafty as gangsters and twice as savage. They would scratch and tease me to no end if I came home to our shared space with pockets empty of victuals. It was not long before they did me the kindness of bleeding my face in the night. That I could not stand for. My face was everything to me. My ambitions as a pantomime would not allow me to inherit a set of cheeks and nose and lips splintered to bits. When they first attempted to make a supper of my snout, I vowed to secure more agreeable quarters away from those bastard rats. So vowing, it was obvious that I should require a means for paying for my lodging, and I went at my axe in the street with fervor. I was able to dress myself in a torn infantry jacket that I dyed black and bespeckled with strips of gauze I found abandoned in a trash heap left by the American Red Cross. I went hatless, with only a fistful of powder in my hair that I would shake out at times to make the little children laugh. My face I painted in accordance with custom, some white and some red with bold lines that exaggerated the face my parents never loved. Harlequins and misfits were saturating Marseille. All kinds and types of street beggars and faux burlesques were popping up everywhere, and everyone knows that too many cooks spoil the broth. I was able to carve out a little niche in Cours Julien by playing the roles of male and female sworn lovers in the time-tested sex-swapping pastiche. I perfected a certain juggling routine carried out at the beginning and end with a set of wooden bulls that a stranger lent to me when he wasn't looking. Fortune favors the bold. I repainted the balls in the hues of the tricolor. It was not long before I had a small retinue of daily patronage. I had a little sign done up in gilt-colored lettering. Maximo the Magnificent, it said, only in the French. And the reader will agree it was an epithet preferable to the one employed against me in the nasty slums of Madrid. There was one fine day when an English lady was passing through and stopped to see me. She was dressed in a blue livery and surrounded by a corpse of boys in broad hats and knee socks who were all smiling ridiculously. Into the torn silk of my upturned bowler, she tossed a 100-franc note. 100 francs. I thanked her in Spanish and wept at her feet. I immediately closed up shop for the day and went straightway to a bistro, where I ordered lamb's feet, a steak, a 10-year-old Bordeaux, and a tin of Calazans d'Aix in broken French. The kind of shabby French that causes waiters to put on airs. After dinner, I bought a pocket's worth of cigars and had a smoke at the foot of a hill leading up to a shiny statue on top of a building where the Germans had once been hiding. I do not mean to dwell on the war, but it had an impact on more than a handful of people. To wrap up my thoughts on it, I saw firsthand how little men made big problems. Unlike the rest of the world, Europe is particularly interested in watching sausage being made. In my circumstances, it was impossible to find a lover. I might have tried with more diligence, but looking around, I could not expect to fall into romance. I spoke French as well as all the carved stone in Marseille, and besides that, I was struck by a sudden malady that put me out of sorts and caused me to thank stars for the charity of the Englishwoman, whose generosity sustained me in those languishing days in bed, which I should mention I had taken to in haste. A fever overwhelmed me, as did the cockroaches. Those vile pests showed their faces from the woodwork at the precise moment when I could not move to chase them. I groaned for many days. After a time, the doctor was called, and it was decided that my right foot should be removed above the ankle. The doctor assured me he had the finest training at the Université de la Santé in Paris. Regarding the foot, I was informed only that it was infect, and my suspicion to this day is that the doctor sawed it off, not because it was necessary, but merely because he got a kick out of it. And it's not as though he stood on ceremony about things. He went to work cruelly, though he did me the kindness of sharing his whiskey, which he gulped during the truncation of my sorry limb. That rascal, he dunned me for the cost of the liquor in the weeks that followed. There wasn't such a thing as paid leave for my vocation. In no time at all, I was in desperate need of capital in order to keep a roof over my head. My fever had subsided, and I had strength enough to smash the occasional cockroach with a broom handle when those bugs came within the dominion of my reach. It was all in vain. They were capable of breeding behind the walls at treble rates. But in all, I was on the mend and soon mended entirely, save for the foot I'd lost to the doctor's fancy. Walking was difficult, but my landlady gifted me a cane from a dead uncle, and I learned to hobble about my room with some assurances of staying upright. At all events, I enjoyed a mobility greater than if the doctor had kept two of my feet in place of the one. But walking had its disadvantages too. I would fall at times, certain that I had broken my head, and there was the night I scared a pigeon resting on the open sill, and it bit into my neck ruthlessly. But I do not mean to dwell on these circumstances. I was restored in time. My return to pantomime was not effortless. Being not easy of foot, the exaggerated antics basic to the craft were nigh impossible in my condition. But the loss of my foot I did not lament. With my Spanish backbone and a little bit of luck, I regained my ground. A wooden leg cut off from a half-burnt chase served as a peg at the bottom of my leg. Not so many as me were as fortunate to have such a dazzling prosthesis, a stained and polished piece of walnut in the Queen Anne style and a ball and claw for a foot. The thing increased rather than decreased my celebrity in the little lane where I made shop. Juggling the bulls was a touch more challenging, but I was thankful in the end that the doctor had not taken a hand, or I should not have juggled again all the years of my life. On the topic of years, I should say that they came and they went. I did not acquire any great wealth, but I did succeed at earning my keep. The letters on my sign, Maximo the Magnificent, were never wanting in fresh paint, and the leather of my shoes, though cracked, held together well enough. My career was what it was, to put it best. I grew a nice little paunch above my belt that was perfect for resting my hands on in times of leisure. I knew the name of the grocer, and every now and then he'd hand me an orange gratis. Even my landlady was friendly toward me on all those days when I paid my rent. Friendships were hard to come by in that city, though I did cultivate friendly terms with some familiar faces in my quarter. I also had a high time some nights in the cafes, where I would occasionally put myself into a good humor on wines while ignoring the lack of scruple over my purse. There was one night I met a gentleman by the name of Nicholas, a bricklayer on an unannounced caper from his wife, so he told me. He had visited Spain, thought fondly of it even. He was fond of Spain's aloofness. I think he stole that from a book. But at any rate, we got to chuckling and chewing the fat and drinking the little bit of apple whiskey set before us on top of the wine. He was a friendly fellow, a fine fellow. He ended up putting an amount of schnapps into his body that would give a whale a bellyache, and he seemed to have a fondness for me in the simple way that I listened to his stories with bright eyes. I could not understand his fast and fluent French, so it was natural of me to make loving faces. By the end of the night, he was deep in liquor. To get him to stand on his feet was a challenge on par with rolling a heavy stone up a never-ending hill. At my little flat, he pulled a flask from his vest pocket and continued to drink. I crawled into my bed and gave out the occasional murmur to convince him I was intent on listening before falling fast asleep. Though the memory is vague, I recall him crawling into the bed, to which I did not object. When he awoke in the late morning, his arm was around me. He had shifted in the night, and I had not protested. Indeed, I was snuggled in, pleased as Punch at the warm embrace. But upon learning of his present condition, he flew into a rage and knocked my lights out right there in the bed. I awoke from the daze with a sore face and a tooth in the back of my throat, which I then lost to my stomach. Nicholas was gone, as was the only money I had to my name. Men in Marseille could be so barbarous. But that is not to say the females were better. A drunken woman, the bricklayer's wife, put out my eye with a rock on the same day I celebrated 24 years since birth. Amazingly, the same doctor who had taken my foot left the eye in its place, though it never worked again. When I arrived home on that most terrible of birthdays, I received a telegram explaining how my only companion ever, Arturo, was slayed in a camp at Miranda del Ebro. The news had traveled slow. It was then I left Marseille. But not in search of Spain. I had no ambitions of sneaking back into a country only to thank a dictator for killing my one and only love. And Franco was busy. He wouldn't have any time for me, unless it was to fill me with shot. So I headed north and slightly east in quest of X. I have italicized the words because that is how everyone pronounces it. I decided on X because it was the home of those delicious candies I had savored after the English lady in the livery gave me 100 francs. And I had seen some pretty pictures by a man they called Cézanne. When I left Marseille, I had a smile on my face, and I was able to keep it, at least for the nonce. I traveled by motor bus. My valise contained only a small wardrobe and my cherished sign, for I intended to continue my line of work in X. On the bus, I had a bad seat and the air was oppressive. A broken spring in the seat was enough to give me instant lumbago, and a fleshy woman next to me had obviously had a bad run at breakfast. I say obviously because the gases escaping her, though silent in their discharge, were of the foulest redolence, a bad egg perfume that invaded the cramped and stifling cabin. The other passengers fingered me for it, through their dirty looks, for a lady could not possibly be the author of such loathsome stink. Not a few gentlemen kept clearing their throats on account of it. Always blamed the one-eyed man. People have known that for centuries. I was like Celine on his voyage to Africa, and all because of that fat woman's guts. At our destination, an old man in a brown waistcoat boxed my ears. I'll never forget that bastard. It was a bright, sunny day. A honeybee stung me behind the ear as I stepped off the bus. My Queen Anne foot skated across the smooth stones and I fell to the earth, surrounded by an uproar of laughter. It was then I learned of my allergy to bees. I blew up to the size of a giant peach and almost died in the street. Thus did I make my introduction to the people of X. With the money I had saved, I found a little place above a butcher's shop on the Rue Goyrand. There were 2 rooms, one to sleep in and one to do everything else in. The smell of the meats below was irresistible. The butcher, a native of X by the name of Gilbert, was also my landlord. We got along famously from the start. He made me a gift of the best meats every Saturday for the first 4 weeks. At the close of the month, he sent up his apprentice with a bill that would have broke the bank at Monte Carlo. I could not believe the man's insolence in running up a bill against me under a veil of charity. I had no choice but to boycott the payment by fleeing from the apartment, which I did that very night under the color of darkness. In a matter of weeks, a sign went up around that part for my arrest. I only went out of doors with my face done up. Sure, the Queen Anne foot was a giveaway, but I somehow avoided capture. I secured a tenancy in a 1-room flat on the Rue du Bon Pasteur. The sign had advertised a garden room to let, and it was the kind of no questions asked situation I found necessary at that moment. The rent was cheap and the mold was free. The other boarders in the place kept the strangest hours and passed very little time in conversation. I soon learned that the place was thick with thieves, but they did not carry out their deeds where they rested their heads. My meager belongings were safe. In all, it was a quiet building. In the whole of the year I lived there, only 8 people were stabbed to death. In 1950, I moved into a neighboring building. There were fewer stabbings, but more screams in the night, and most of them sensuous. The floor above me operated mostly as a brothel, but also as a kind of clinic. A little man with a haunch and a red mustache would come in from time to time to perform abortions on the more careless prostitutes. To tend to my sanity, I worked. X was a beautiful and lively place. No war could stop or slow her. She treated me well, and I thanked her handsomely. France has always been penetrated up to its neck with tourists. It is why her people are so hostile to everything that breathes. As the years passed, people on holidays flocked to X. English, Italian, Spanish, American, even the Germans came back. And it was incredible that they never begged pardon for shooting and bombing everyone. I did my pantomime routine with spirit and gusto. A franc here, 2 francs there, I made my way. Despite the liaison of Cupid that is France, I never did find love. I blamed the Queen Anne foot and the hideous eye for scaring off all potential suitors. On top of things, I've been told my breath is among the worst. When my back went out at the age of 40, I was a sad scene, treading the flags with a scrape and a wobble, in brief, a pitiful gait. I continued my enterprise, but I was certain people were paying to see a freak, not an acrobat. My little sign grew into perfect satire. The bulls were ungovernable in my hands. I gave them away in the same way I came by them. One day they disappeared from under my nose. 20 and then 30 years went by. It's something that happens to those who miss the opportunity to die off by accident or germs. I learned in the papers that on October 30th, 1975, Franco wished everyone well and crawled into a coma. It was awfully nice of him. He died on the same day as Tolstoy. He must have had posterity in mind. He sleeps peacefully in a big basilica on a hill. People to this day toss flowers at his grave. I've heard there is even a Hollywood actor who writes cheap prose under his name. History is a bastard cunt wrapped up in bandages, but we have to keep track of time some way or other. Despite the flockings of bombs and bastards, My little ex has remained largely untouched. She is resistant to time. There is a spirit in this city that endures. It is a world-class place. Every night you can find an American student vomiting in the avenues around the Rotund. That's it.
Adam, that was so good. That was a like clever and seductive little piece because it lulls you into this kind of false sense of security that, okay, this is kind of like, it's this kind of like tragic period piece about this unfortunate guy. And then it gets funnier and funnier and sicker and sicker. And the way it's delivered is in such like high contrast to the content of the piece, right? And that just makes it like so much funnier. And in another sense, like so much more bittersweet too. You really start to feel for this poor schmuck, right? I don't know, it's a great piece, Adam. And as usual, the language is on point. And the mix of like high and low, that's one of the major like hallmarks of your work, is very much in place and very effective here too. It's just a really good story, really effective.
Thanks a lot, William. Thanks for letting me read.
No, thank you for reading.
Yeah, I love the little asides there, like, you know, the making PP in France and that stuff. But I also love how like worldly this is, without really being sentimental for any one country. Like, I mean, his home country, you know, Spain, you know, you mentioned the Franco shit, and you mentioned all this really horrific shit throughout the whole piece. And then the France stuff is really just like hilarious, and the way it paints, like, you know, how opportunistic and how like crazy people are everywhere, and it's just really, really good.
Thanks, Rudy. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. And Keko, are you ready to roll?
Yeah.
So you're going to read a couple of pieces that we published this week.
Yep. Yesterday. Okay. So I'll start. The first one is boy goes against the agreement with his parents. No, no, no. Yes, I peed on the carpet, but in my defense, Dad had been playing video games instead of taking me to the playground. I was only 2.5. Even now, though, vague remembrance of guilt lingers in my mind when I see a carpet, and if I put my feet on one, I can't feel the homey softness, only that a part of me is naked. Mom was angry, very angry with Dad, while the glitch of disappointment was saved for the carpet for what I had done to it. Finally, she dressed me and took me out, leaving him to deal with the stain. No raid for you, my man. Oh my God, stop it. My oldest clear memory. We went to the park. The spring had just turned up to color the slope into green. The grass felt softer than a hug, but Mom yelled I would eventually roll over shit some dickhead didn't pick up. I had to take a lot of shit from the earliest of days. Can't do this, can't do that, can't do then. I wouldn't take it anymore, so I rolled into shit. The incredulous gaze at my sweater, slowly lowering down Mom's face to emanate a trembling articulation from her shaky lips. This is not what we agreed upon. Happened when I was 3. She threw the sweater into the trash and made me do a walk of shame to the flat. As if I weren't her baby, she kept repeating, her little boy. Dad laughed at the sight of our vivid entrance, which deflected the attention from what I had done. A feeling of relief mixed with guilt as the shit I picked up managed to smear the entire day. She told him to grow up. He went to play Red Dead Redemption. We both slept on the couch. What's wrong with you? Have I ever taught you to react that way? Where did you learn that? Aggression is disgusting. It's disgusting. At some point, I stopped eating shit. Though my parents were proud, they still didn't like how the changes in my character manifested in certain situations. There were these two idiots in the playground. They were messing with me, invading my private space and staring as if saying, "Make a move, boy, and we'll slice you." I wouldn't take it, so I went for the cheek and bit one of them. The other one ran to his dad. Dad beckoned my dad, who was on the mobile, a person screaming. There was blood. I think I caught part of his ear also. My dad gave his phone number to the bastard's distraught mother. Somebody mentioned the police. They represent this kind of behavior, another one said. We need to overcome the incident as a community. We left in a hurry, never to return again. What's the big deal? It was my birthday celebration. I'm 5, the bitch is 4.5, and she was asking for it. A family friend. We gathered in their backyard, and I took my chance while the grown-ups were discussing politics and similar uncanny stuff. I just wanted to have some fun on my birthday, and she was no party pooper. That's it. We're done. Mom and Dad locked me in the bedroom. They've been talking all afternoon. I heard a phone call. An appointment has been made. In the morning, Dad looks at me, expressionless as a robot. Mom is dead serious. Let's go. I'm too old to get castrated. You had your fun, buddy, said Dad. You just didn't listen. You can whine all you want. I'm not listening now, la 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 la, said Mom. You should have thought about this earlier. Keep whining, buddy. And I do. I whine and I moan to the moon. Do you still love me as I do you? Oh, sweet tale, elegancy above anus that lingers in my mind, my downfall. The memory of you is nothing but a fart. We've become a happy family. And the last very short one is Ibis Redibis. There are trolls, plain trolls, trolls per se, and there are Scottish trolls. Now trolls just go online and express their frustrations, assertively pushing their agendas, usually upon people who they feel are lesser than them, but society disagrees. They are Minutemen, squeezing out the juice from their acne and wallowing in it. Scottish trolls, on the other hand, play characters, and while trolls get upset, Scottish ones enjoy themselves like a pensioned Cuban playing dominoes. We are dashing, we have your photos, and yes, I'm caressing the back of your ear. Now put the finger in it. How does the stickiness feel, my lad? That's it.
Oh God, these are so
Oh,
good. I
man.
mean, we published them. Oh, Rudy, what were you going to say?
Oh, sorry. I just like both of these are amazing. I love the first one though, because it bounces between in my mind, it bounced between like an evil child with conduct disorder and a dog. But there's a line in there that I'm too old to get castrated. But it really bounces where it could be like either, and it's brilliant the way you play it. And especially with the all the language that like what is the mother or the woman says not my little boy, or not my not my sweet child, or something like that. It's a really brilliant play, and the language is also very vivid and
Never-
weird. And
No, just never too old for a castration.
no, but it's just the duality between the dog child comparison. It's just really good.
Yeah, no, what a great piece about the horrors of pet ownership, right? Making it seem so profoundly inhumane, but also it's a really savage satire of of contemporary yuppies too. Like the dad who's always like on his phone or playing Red Dead Redemption or whatever. And like Rudy said, like that, you really get the sense of like, what's the like social media cliche, like dog moms or dog dads,
Yes.
cat
Yep.
moms and cat dads.
Yep.
You really get a sense that like, not only would it be bad for them to have actual children, but it's probably not great for the dog or the cat either, right?
Yeah.
The
And
cat,
actually,
the cat loves what I do to it, though. Michael.
Josh, you need to
Okay.
stop handling that.
Here's the
fucking
thing.
cat.
It was so funny. I just spoke in the tone of voice that I speak to before I smoosh it. It was on the couch, and I said, "Oh, she knows what's coming," and it literally collapsed, like by the intonation of my voice. I've
It's
trained it so
scared,
well.
Josh. It's
Oh,
scared
no.
of you. You need to be afraid of you.
But it knew because it's the tone of voice I use when I'm approaching her. And
Josh, you sound like a war criminal. I mean, that's
well,
just terrible.
it's not as bad as it sounded at work, because at work they asked me to explain it, and I said, well, she after I do this, she comes up to me and she's asking for it. That's what I said at work.
asking,
The bitch is asking for it. Yeah.
using that as a segue, I just want to highlight one more thing about that piece, Keko. There is a thing, and William had referenced the dog mom, cat mom thing, but it says we need to overcome the incident as a community. We left in a hurry, never to return again. I love that whiplash there with that phrase. That is so good. Phrasing is great. I love it's such like the piece is just such a fuck you to that type of lifestyle. I love it.
Thanks, Rudy. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's actually I wrote it like it's like a Indigo Dog Parents theme. Yeah, it's like so. I try to merge the whole Indigo Parents with that dog mom dog dad shit. So
No, you nailed it, man. Thanks so
it's,
much.
it's wrong in every way. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, it is. It's reversed. Thank you, Gecko. Up next is Dan.
You're gonna tell me that cat doesn't call me daddy?
Josh,
I
you
know.
don't want this. You're not supposed to dominate it. It's a living thing. It's fucked up. You know when Mr. Bones assumes the kind of posture that you're describing when he's
Yeah.
at the vet? He's not. That's not a happy
Yeah.
posture when they're
I'm
crouched
gonna
down.
administer. It's surgical what I do. It's fine.
It's
Anyways.
not surgical. It's cruel.
There's
Oh,
nothing
but
happy or
the
cute about
cat
it.
comes
They're
up to me
anal, they do-
afterwards. It comes up and she nuzzles.
I don't know, Josh. I don't know. But it's Dan is up now. Oh, Dan was having some internet connectivity issues. Is he still with us? Maybe not. You know what? We'll skip over Dan and we will circle back to him later, which means I have to apologize for shushing Josh because Josh is actually up next.
The issue here is that my Uber Eats is like 2 minutes away.
Okay.
And so I
circle
can
back.
go next. Like I can literally go next, but I need like yeah.
Sure. We'll skip you. We'll circle back to you. In which case, Unity is up.
Oh, I knew it was going to be me.
Had a premonition?
Yeah. Well, we
Okay.
were kind of running at who else could it have been? Okay, party poems. There are 4 of these. First one's called At Larry's. We're by the pool at Larry's on the chaise in the sun. You on your back, me stretched out on top. It feels terrible. I keep sliding off. We're both sweating. My heart hurts. Our bodies not fitting together is becoming a theme, but we still have the same middle name. And the painting in your studio still looks like my dog, Asia. The dog from my childhood. The Australian Shepherd with the crazy eyes. Remember? I'm afraid to take the Xanax you gave me. Afraid to drink the wine. Afraid to eat the pork chop you cooked. Afraid to swim in the pool. I'm sure you're trying to poison me, drown me, stab me. Not afraid of the meth, though. That I still want. You won't stop fixing things. It's making me nervous. You're fixing all the cameras in the house, connecting them together, twisting all the wires. The Cinnamon Toast Crunch people are getting rowdy. They spring from their box and scatter on the patio. I keep trying to sweep them up, but I can only move backwards. Like someone hit rewind and I'm a video on your Xtube that you're still making money from. If you're even still alive. Are you still alive? The sun aims its missile at my head. The funny part is, I'm about to die, and I haven't even met Larry. Okay, second one's called Fucked by an Alien. It was something I'd always wanted, to get fucked by an alien. Ever since I read about it in that Octavia Butler book, the one with all the tentacles. I wanted to get fucked in a way that didn't feel like getting fucked because I hated getting fucked, but I kept doing it anyway. I wanted it to feel so much better or so much worse that it jogged me out of whatever funk I'd fallen into when Matt and I broke up in 2009, 2010. I remember sitting on the sidewalk outside Forest's, his old place on Beaver Street, sitting on the sidewalk crying about Matt. So sad I couldn't stand up. I've never felt so sad in all my life. Forrest was inside cooking lobster, wondering where I was. I think eventually he came outside and helped me, gave me some lobster. After that, I just started getting fucked. I had sex with hundreds of people. I remember a lot of them. I've forgotten some too. I can't remember a single time where it actually felt good. Finally, I got so fucked up that the alien came down and fucked me. Just like I always wanted. Just like in the book. Tentacles inside me, squirming through my skin, injecting its serum in my eyes. It wasn't really like that. It wasn't like my fantasy at all. First, he was just standing there next to the bed, speaking some weird language. He acted like he knew me, like he'd been watching from above. He was mushy and blue, bug-eyed, lizard-like. It's hard to describe. He had those eyelids that crocodiles have, the clear ones. They blinked open and shut. He just stood there, and then he fucked me. He was on top. I didn't get any pleasure, any therapeutic value. It felt like being bitten by a shark. I was so fucking scared. Okay, next one's called On Glamorizing Drug Use. Oh, fuck off. LMAO. Shut up, fuck off, eat a dick. Okay, there's one more. Last one's called Belle. Belle is on one tonight for real. She's drunk on cheap whiskey, slobbering at the mouth. She wants the shit in Vivi's nightstand. She'll do anything to get it. Bren told her it was in there, and I was the one who told Bren. I guess that makes me the instigator of this whole thing. Of Belle cornering Pussy Baby in the back house. Of Pussy Baby cornering me. Of me whispering in Vivi's ear. She needs it. She needs it. Eventually, Vivi gave in. She relented to the pressure. There was no reason to keep the shit. Belle was going to buy more anyway. Belle will sponsor your high, I said. Belle cooked the shit in a spoon, unnecessary, and pushed it in her vein with a hormone needle, too thick, then wandered around the land alone. The other thing Belle did was burn 3 holes in my thigh with her cigarette. Revenge for the chaos I'd caused. Much later, I asked for a vial of her blood via text message. I was wandering in Central Park the way she'd wandered at Ida. Pupils bulging, teeth bared, sick with desire. Belle texted back, said no. That's it.
Oh my God, Unity. I need to talk about the alien poem. I need to talk about the fucking alien poem because the way this poem is structured is unfucking real. Like it's so absurd and funny when it opens, but then it lulls you into this kind of false sense of like sad security when it goes through the like you're getting into this state of mind, you're getting into their psychology, you're getting into the mundane, like sad tragedy of their life, and then they're getting fucked by the alien. And that shift is wonderful too, because it's so out of nowhere and it's so fucking funny at first, and then it gets sick and sad and scary, just like the life that preceded it, right? It's almost as if like the absurd and the supernatural are no rescue from just like life's ability to just keep fucking you. And the other pieces like have a wonderful rhythm to them as well. The first piece does something similar where it ricochets back and forth between being like really astute and really profound and being really absurd and really funny. And they're like really like dynamic and frenetic in this really fascinating way, especially given like how like concise they are and how like, you know, constrained. I know these are fascinating poems and they're fucking so funny and I love them.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got to say, I would like, I had written a earlier draft of these and I sent them to Elizabeth Ellen and she told me to rewrite them and was like, basically told me like, rewrite them from the heart rather than like, I don't know, the earlier version, I don't know, they were a little more like constructed or something. And then she also helped me like she cut a bunch of it. And I feel like her cuts really kind of were what made them pop. And I just learned a whole lot from like, I felt like I took a poetry class. And this was kind of the
Elizabeth
result.
Allen on some Ezra Pound shit. But those are
But yeah, thank you. And yeah, welcome to my life.
I don't know. They're so fucking good though. You've distilled something from your life here that's fucking really funny and really profound. And I think that's like, it's not just the experiences, right? It's not just that you've done some wild shit and had some wild experiences and seen some wild shit, but it takes real craft to take the stuff that you've experienced. A lot of people have done wild shit in their life and had wild experiences and seen things, right? But it takes real craft to take that and present it in a way that's vivid and effective and funny and astute. And that's what you bring to this, right? It's not just your life, it's how you're expressing it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Unity.
Yeah, I really like the way you ordered these two, like the unglamorizing drug use one is perfectly placed. And I like how, like William said, I really love how like almost fractal these are, how they spin, like you zoom in, and it spins back around and, you know, references itself or, you know, comes back into an earlier like thing, you know, that, you know, it reference, like William was saying, it bounces back and forth between being really like, I don't know, it's just like really, it loops kind of, it like loops like not the prose, but like the, you know, the feelings loop, and it's really wild. I love it.
Thanks, Rudy. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Unity. Josh, are you ready?
Yeah, my guy came. My Uber Eats guy. 'Cause
Uber
again,
Eats guy,
I no
okay.
longer dabble in that. I had 3 notes here. It's funny because I'm like, I don't know. I'm very far gone. I had 3 notes here. So that I want to just It was to 3 people in the chat. So the first one was Daphne in brackets in a platonic way. I wrote these things. Makeup on point as usual. Glad to see you here when I really could have discouraged you from ever coming again. Hope to discuss Memphis Trap again soon. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Keko, I hope you're seeing how Russia is North Korea, basically. And then the third one is, and Troy James Weaver book promo. Oh yeah, I wanted to say, I just got this. You should all. I have most of Troy's other stuff, but he was on here on a book tear the last time, and I hadn't read this one. And I'm like, you know what? I have disposable income, and there's no better way to spend it. And actually, this was a collection I wanted to get earlier, but it was actually priced higher than some of his other stuff. Maybe because it's better. I don't know. Maybe that's how it works. But anyways, I finally got it. Haven't read it yet, but I encourage everybody else. I mean, he's read here, you know, but just come on, dig into the wallets if you have the currency. So I was going to read something that I wrote. I was going to do the next version of Pegging, which is now twice as long as what I read here earlier. Zach Smith said it wasn't a story, and whatever. Yeah, and he was probably right. So anyways, it grew much larger, but it's not ready. And so I decided that I wanted to come back to an author who kind of encapsulates what I call charm reduction, style I'm trying to go for my first book. And it's by Jude Angelini, Hyena. He wrote Hyena, and then he wrote, geez, he has a follow-up to it. I can't remember what the title is now. Hold on, I want to get this right. I think it's, is it Butterfly? I think he has a, yeah, I think the second one is Butterfly. If it's not, you're supposed to tag him, so he'll correct. Anyways, he was the, not the muscle, but he was basically, I don't know who remembers Jenny Jones, but it was like a afternoon kind of like Jerry Springer like show. And Angelini was the kind of one who would send like the quarrelsome fat kids to fat camp. And it was, you know, so it was good. It was funny. And he's now a Sirius XM radio host on Eminem's show. And he had no literary pretense. He read Bukowski's like Notes of a Dirty Old Man and thought, oh, I could do this. And so he had no literary experience. And I read 2 stories before. I don't know if you remember William, the was it TLC? It was an R&B referencing one in which a man does something to somebody who is.
Yeah, is this the one about the guy who, with the, let's say, mentally challenged girlfriend? Was that
Yes.
the story? Yes, okay. So
Okay.
this is more of his work then.
Yeah, 4 more very short. So I want to read the first 2 that I ever encountered, because basically the reason I'm bringing it up, and I'm gonna start rambling, but a non-literary friend brought this to me and I was blown away. And so I'm going to read the first 2 vignettes that they're very short, that just my first experience with him, which might be your first experience, and then 2 other choice selections, and they're all very short. So the first one is called Top Gun. I'm in a cab, leaning my face out the window, gone off Percocet and ketamine. This motherfucker crosses the street in front of me, looking just like Goose from Top Gun. I'm thinking, that was fucked up how he died, leaving a wife and kid. I say, rest in peace, Goose, and the cab drives off. Earlier at Jeff's high-rise apartment, I copped some drugs from a Dominican with a silver briefcase. Jeff got the MDMA, I got the vials of ketamine. I cooked the K in the oven. He had some Australian chick licking the molly off his fingertips. Just the 3 of us. They're rolling, I'm not. She said she doesn't do K because it makes her lose control. I tell her in that case, do as much as you want. She does as much as she wants. Jeff does too. We're chopping it up with his cheese knife, snorting the lines with a wrinkly $1 bill. It's all the Dominican left us. This goes on for hours, rolling the K-holes, and she's grinding her teeth, rubbing her thighs together. I tell her to come cuddle, but it's awkward. She don't even know me. She gets up and we pretend like it never happened. It's around then I realize she's not fucking me solo. Either he's gonna fuck her or we're all gonna fuck her. So how bad do you want it? Bad enough to see your homeboy naked, hairy ass and all? I smashed chicks back in the day with cats that are like my brothers. Toss them up, one in the mouth, one in the vagina. It's nothing. But I don't know with Jeff. Shit, if we can all be honest, it's kind of what I prefer for threesomes. 2 dudes and a chick. With 2 dudes, I can focus on the chick. With 2 girls, it gets complicated. I don't know where to look, who to pay attention to. I'm trying to eat pussy and smash at the same time. Shit's hard, like doing algebra. I tried it once with Annie and her homegirl after a night of whiskey and muscle relaxers. I couldn't get my dick to stay hard. I even ate 2 Viagras. Nothing. I just ended up eating them out and we're hitting each other. She'd be like, eat my pussy, bitch, and slap me upside the head. And I'd be like, yeah, take that, bitch, and smack her across the face. I usually don't go for all that bitch shit. But since I couldn't get my dick hard, I figured we were on some aggro dyke shit, so I let it slide. When they came, they excused themselves and went home with no eye contact. I'm standing there buck naked, limp dick, thinking about how we just murdered my roommate's new couch. That was the last threesome I had. I don't know if I want to jump back in with Harry Jeff and the assless Australian, banging it out doggy style while he's getting head, shooting me a thumbs up. I feel like he'd wink at me mid-stroke, like, yeah, we're killing this, bro. And I wouldn't know where to look, so I'd look down at his nipples and the piece of me would die inside. So I bail and Jeff fucks, and I'm in the cab thinking about Goose. We would have had to have been best friends like Maverick and Goose to run Busto on that chick. Or she would have had to look like Nicole Kidman to get me double up with him. But she's not that cute, and we're not that close, and that's okay. I'm nodding my head to Modest Mouse on my iPad, looking at the East River as the cabbie drives over Williamsburg Bridge. I kind of want to tell him to turn around, but I don't. So I link up with Brad, and we rage all night, just like we did the last 6 nights, popping pills and doing K. We're on his roof, watching the sunrise and talking about aliens. New York looks like a Nintendo game, like Mega Man. Shit gets real digital on this ketamine. This place ain't natural, I say. We've been around for thousands and thousands of years on this planet, and now they got us walking on concrete. What the fuck is that? Shit, I couldn't tell you the last time I walked barefoot on Earth, touched some dirt. Shit out here, you gotta take a fucking train just to lay on some grass. They're trying to kill us out here. New York is nice to look at, but I'm ready to go. We're back on the fire escape, taking rails of K to the face. I'm swabbing the blood out of my nose with wet Q-tips, giving him a bunch of ketamine pep talk to get him motivated. He's like a bunch of my friends, creative and talented, and not doing shit. He's scared. I recognize it, because I'm scared too. Doing shit is scary. Waking up is scary. Getting up every morning, looking in the mirror, and trying to like yourself is fucking hard. I get it. I keep telling him, all you got to do is do. I'm saying it over and over. All you got to do is do. I'm hugging him, telling him I love him. I would have ran Busto with Brad. It's 6:30 in the morning. I go to bed. I got a flight this afternoon. I call Asia from the airport. It's her birthday. My old boss, Tony, from the pager store told me that no matter what, you always got to see your kid on her birthday. When old people tell you shit, you should listen. I kept that up till her grandparents moved her down to Florida. Now I give her phone calls. I call Asia, but she doesn't answer. I leave her a message on her birthday. My daughter gets a message. I tell her I love her. I tell her I'm proud of her. I tell her 15 years ago on this day when they pulled her out of her mom, her head was all pointy and I was pissed off with the doctor that I messed up her head. I tell her they told me it's just in the birth canal and that her head would be okay. I tell her her head turned out just fine and I couldn't be happier with her. I tell her I love her. I tell her goodbye. I get on my plane and I fly. That's the first one, which I think is very good. And I'm going to see, just 2 more. Shower me with your love. I got her in the studio, little punk rock porn chick. She had the sunglasses on, dark hair with the bangs, tats and all that. Stood about 4 foot something. I say, look at you adorable little thing. Get in my pocket. She's laughing. We're on the air, talking about all the nasty things she's done. Fucking and sucking and all the run-of-the-mill shit. Then she starts talking about pissing in cups, pissing on dudes pissing on her, the whole 9. I tell her, that's hot. She's like, yeah, it is. I'm talking shit. Bet you won't piss on me. She calls my bluff. I'll piss on you. We go to music. How are we gonna do this? Do I lay down and have her do it on my chest? I look at the carpet. It's filthy. I tell her to do it on my leg. I'm outside the studio looking for a garbage bag to catch the piss. Julie, where are the trash bags at? He gives me a look, tells me where to go. We're back in the studio. The song's done. I'm in the chair, garbage bag down, pants rolled up. She straddles my leg, pulls her skirt up, and pushes her panties to the side. Surprisingly, my dick's hard as hell. This shit's kind of sexy to me. I guess I'm the kind of guy that likes to get pissed on, like a toilet. I'm a toilet. I put the mic to her crotch. She goes. A long, hot, steamy stream of piss hits my leg, runs down my ankle, down my foot, to my toes, and onto the bag. It's making a pool. I should have gave you a 40. Yeah, right? I wipe up with the paper towel. We take phone calls. Cats are saying I'm crazy like a fox. They're calling me a bitch for letting me piss on my leg. Call me what you want, but you're calling. Show's over. I'm like, we should do ecstasy and fuck. You want to do ecstasy and fuck? She smiles. Yeah. Can't do it at her house. She lives 3 deep in a 1-bedroom apartment. We end up at my house. I feed her some E and take some myself. We're making out in bed. My heart's racing. I get flushed. The E's kicking in. She wants to fuck. I'm doing it all slow and sensual, ecstasy style, taking my time, like I'm doing something, making love and shit. She wants it harder, so I do it harder. Now she wants it harder than that, so I'm fucking her harder than that. She wants it harder still. These porn chicks and their hard fucking, they come into the studio and we give them vibrators that hit like jackhammers because their clits are so blew out. I'm 3 minutes into fucking this chick and I'm already sweating. I'm supposed to do this for another 3 hours. I'm holding her tiny little baby legs in each hand by the ankles, smashing till my dick goes numb. This is some bullshit. My dick goes soft in 5 minutes. I blame the E. Hey, babe, it's the E. The shit makes me go soft. I'm gonna take a Viagra. You sure you're okay? I'm burning up, sweating, heart jumping out of my chest, pill popping, trying to fuck a porn star like a porn star. Yeah. I take a Viagra. We hit the living room. She wants to hear Lil Wayne. We're laid out on the shag carpet. I'm going down on her, rolling her asses off. It's euphoric. I'm feeling warm all over. There's no place on earth I'd rather be right now than in between her legs. Then it hits me. Lil Wayne is so fucking good. She comes. I feel the heat between my legs. That Viagra's kicking in. I get on top. We fuck for a while on the floor, take a break. I love drugs. This is the best. We're talking about life and shit like that. You know, really vibing. She gets up to pee. I'm watching her little naked body as she runs down the hall. Something's off. Her gait's not really a gait. It's more like a waddle. And her torso is longer than I remember. Her limbs are shorter than I recall. And her head's big as hell for her body. She scampers like a midget. But she's too tall to be a midget. Hell nah. I'm fucking a dwarf. A tall ass dwarf. Shit's got me fucked up. I had a midget on my bucket list, but that was just talk. Now I finally got one, and I don't know what to do with it. I always thought I'd be prepared for this. I got hit out of nowhere with a surprise dwarf while rolling my balls off. I'm sitting there buck naked on the carpet, eyeballs twitching, teeth grinding, and I'm getting all emotional, thinking, God damn, you're doing ecstasy with midgets. This is fucking crazy, man. What are you gonna do? Don't say nothing to her. You don't want to hurt her feelings. It's not her fault she's a dwarf. She's just playing the hand she was dealt. Then I start thinking about people doing the best they can with what they got. Motherfuckers running marathons on prosthetic legs. The little old man at the bus stop with the threadbare clothes, but he's clean and they're tucked in, and I damn near well up. Life is beautiful. The toilet flushes. She waddles back into the room, kisses me on the mouth, and lays down next to me, real dwarf-like. Ain't shit to do but finish what we started. I pop another pill and give her one too. We fuck until my dick doesn't work, so I pop another Viagra and fuck her some more, hard as I can. And then I just want to read one more. I was gonna read 4, but I'm gonna read one more because I just think this is, I don't know, I'm enjoying it. I think I'm gonna do. Let's see here. Yeah, collateral damage. When I was in the shower washing my butt, I felt a lump on my ass. I thought it was a tumor. I thought I was going to die from ass cancer. I'm picturing people falling out at my funeral, wondering how many people will show. I remind myself to throw out the porn DVDs in the dresser and to clear the hard drive before I die so my mom won't have to see the shit I jerk off to. I'll go back to Detroit to spend my last days there, maybe smoke some crack. My job will probably try to hold a memorial for me and fuck it up. By the time I'm out of the shower, I've come to terms with my death. Went to the doctor that Thursday. Turns out it's hemorrhoids. Super bad hemorrhoids. My hemorrhoids got hemorrhoids, and now he's got to cut me. He explained to me exactly what was going on with my anus, but I really couldn't follow because right before his explanation, he raped my asshole with his fingers and cameras and metal rods. The whole experience made me rethink my finger up a chick's asshole without warning mid-coitus. I probably won't do that anymore. I used to be reckless with that butthole shit. I tried to sodomize every single girl I smashed. Not because it felt great, mind you. It just feels okay. Pussy feels better, and there's some downsides to sodomy, like sometimes you end up with shit in your dick. It's just that if I was gonna fuck, I wanted my dick to hit every hole. So when I saw her months later at the mall with her new man and we were smiling and nodding and making niceties, I'd be looking at her and thinking, I was up in your butthole, fucking great to see you. And then I'd be off to Marshall's to buy some Hilfiger shirts on clearance. I've stopped trying to sodomize chicks when I stopped going to the mall for my clothes and chilled out with my anger issues. I mean, if she wants to fuck me there, sure I will. That's hot. Whatever you want, I'm game. Even then, not all the time, because I'm always putting it in her butt. What are we supposed to do on Valentine's Day? Speaking of sodomy, the doctor shoved all these things up my butthole and then cut my ass and left me there in a diaper in the gurney. The irony is, these last few weeks, I've been wanting to get my hands on some Vicodin. Well, now I got it. Be careful what you wish for. I've been on Vicodin these past 3 days. I keep taking so I won't shit. I'm afraid to. Vicodin and tidy whities with a maxi pad shoved in my ass crack because I'm leaking blood. My mom keeps calling me to see if I'm all right. I am. I just walk funny, and I'm getting used to the tidy whities smashing my balls. I tried to do the maxi pad with some boxers, and that shit fell out in the middle of the road right next to some kids playing. I tried to kick it across the street, but it kept getting stuck to the pavement, so I kept walking like it wasn't mine. Kev took me to the Dodgers game yesterday. The good seats. It was nice to sit out there in the sun, nodding off on opiates while the Cubs whooped the Dodgers' asses. It was fun till some piece of shit Dodgers fans started talking to us. We ain't saying nothing to this fucking dude, and the motherfucker's talking about the douchebag Cubs fans in front of him. I'm not even from Chicago. My friends are. I'm waiting for them to say some shit, but they don't. I turn around, and it's some day trader sitting with his hot wife and friends. I tell him, chill out. He says he was being funny. I tell him he isn't funny and to stop talking to us. He starts talking about my accent. His eyes are wild like he's gonna do something, talking to me like he knows karate or some shit. I'm like, bro, chill out and shut up and stop talking to us. He's like, brah, brah, brah. What the hell is brah, brah? Why are you talking like that, brah? Because I'm from Detroit, brah. Look, I'm not even a Cubs fan. I just don't like you. So don't say shit to us, okay? That's the best I can come up with. Mr. Rude Jude, Mr. Get Paid to Talk Shit on Jenny Jones. All I can do is explain how my accent stems from my place of origin. I blame the Vicodin. He keeps on talking, and I'm staring him down like, I'm gonna fuck you up. But he knows I won't, so he stays on me. Now I'm arguing with him, and I'm not very good at it, but I can't stop, and my friends are telling me to chill. He's still calling us douchebags and calling me all types of wiggers and shit. He keeps on yapping, and I can't shut him down. I'm getting owned by a frat boy at the Dodgers game, and it's irritating the shit out of me. The only thing left to do is punch him in the face, but let's be real, I'm not a fighter. I'm worried about my glasses. I'm not about to start fighting. Doped up on bikes, wearing a maxi pad at a goddamn baseball game. I try to get his wife to chill his ass out. Can you please get your man? Ain't you embarrassed? She says, you should be embarrassed. This bitch. Then I see my opening. When I see her thighs and what she sees every day when she gets out of the shower, I see some cellulite on them fucking thighs. Now me, I like cellulite. It don't bother me, but I know she hates it. So I say something to him like, blah, blah, blah. Look at the scoreboard, loser. Fuck you, blah, 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 with your chubby ass wife. And his face breaks and I see it. So I keep going. You need to stop rooting against us and start rooting against her eating all them hot dogs at the game because she's getting fat, bruh. I found that soft spot. And now his homeboy jumps in like, whoa, whoa, we don't need to be talking about people's wives. Where were you 5 minutes ago? I ignore him and keep calling her fat, and he keeps trying to say shit back, but it doesn't matter what he says because I keep on disrespecting his woman and his honor, and he's not doing a fucking thing. Ain't shit to do but punch me. I might be a bitch and not want to fight, but guess what? He's a bitch too, and I'm gonna remind him. Now I'm pointing at my mouth, smiling. He says, "What the fuck is that?" All I see is an ugly red beard. I say, "That's me smiling. I live in your head now, motherfucker, because you know your wife is getting fat. And every time she gets seconds on some food or gets dessert and you tell her not to, you'll be thinking about me." It's true. He'll be thinking about me when he sees that cottage cheese on her legs and when she's on her period feeling fat, and he'll have to reassure her. That's me, motherfucker. And I bet she won't be wearing those shorts again anytime soon. You should have seen her face. You should have seen her put that popcorn down. Fuck her. That's what she gets for being married to a douchebag. And now he ain't talking as much, and his wife is whispering for him to just calm down and drop it, and it's okay, and she knows she's not fat. I'm sitting in front of them, sipping my lemonade, smiling, watching the game, bleeding from my maxi pad.
Josh, I can see why you like his work. I can see that why you like his work because there's parallels there between what he's doing and what you're doing, right? And not only in the obsession with the ugliest bits of human social contact and stuff, right? But also these are devilishly well constructed stories where they really lure you, they really get you in the zone where you're like, oh, this is just a guy talking shit, right? But there's a really meticulous way to how these are structured and laid out. Like the first one where he opens with the stuff from about Goose from Top Gun, and that becomes a motif, and it ends with him getting on the plane to fly. And the way in the first one, it works up to the stuff with his daughter, and it really blindsides you.
He's
And
so
second, yeah, the way they're constructed is just, you get the impression that this is just, a douchebag who's been on television, who's famous for being a douchebag, right? And who's a comedian, and you're expecting him to tell his douchebag anecdotes, right? And instead, what you get is actually a really, really well-crafted bunch of short stories.
That's what I was so. I'm jealous of him because he hasn't read a lot. He just fucking laid it down. It started as a blog, and then he actually got not even a book deal, but just the blog wasn't hitting. His readership they weren't getting it, but somebody thought there was something there, and he made it into a book, and the book ended up it's on a decently big press, the first one. Actually, Gallery Books, a smaller one the first time, but it ran out the first printing, and then he got the second book, and it's a bigger press. I don't know. I think by the way, I crushed it with the reading because we're the same person in a way. I can channel that character. But I think they are very well crafted. And I'm jealous of I'm jealous of the raw talent that I see in that, because this is not someone from the literary scene. And that's what I love when my friend recommended it for me, because it was like, wow, this could be an alt-lit figure. This could be a Twitter shit poster. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it transcends that, right? It goes beyond just being I don't know, there's craft there. There's real craft there, and it's really
at the end of the other one, which is really mean to that woman. But I remember being bullied and then trying to find that one spot and hitting it. But the last sentence is about the fucking tampon up his asshole. So he's not
exactly.
welcome to be a hero.
Right.
I
No,
hope
yeah. No, that's exactly it. It's sorry. Rudy, I think there's nothing in.
I really, really love how the flow of that story is. I just want to say that there's a Wu-Tang, it's actually a Wu Syndicate song. It's called Lufthansa Hit. And the chorus, or the part basically goes for funds and bricks, running your shit, gun at your click, Lufthansa Hit. And then the next section, the next chorus is like amateurs fronting and shit, matching in death for funds and bricks. Cousin was rich with tons of hit, and it flows into it like that. It's like the two parts are linked together, but the alliteration like it extends itself. It keeps extending itself and extending itself and extending itself. It's a really wild like scheme, like the way like it's set up to like details. Each line is like an independent thing, but then it comments on the last line too, sort of. It's really like and it feels just like shit talk, but it feels organically like shit talk, but it's like really complex. Like how
That's what gets me, because I believe it's raw. Like I believe I know that there's more thought than just he didn't just toss it out, but I also do believe that he's not drawing from a vast kind of, literary background or whatever. He's just kind of feeling it out, which is, oh, I'm jealous. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what great stand-up does too, though. It's structured similarly. If you look at like some of Louis C.K.'s best stand-up specials, you'll see a thing where like there's that same like rhythm to it where you think he's just talking shit, he's just joking, and then the rug is pulled out and there's some other layer there, and there's a similar thing to stand up here in the way that he's working with themes too, like that you're calling back to the theme, and just when the listener thinks you've moved on, you're calling back to the theme again for that last laugh or for something.
I tried to do that too. I tried to do that a little bit. I realized afterwards too, subconsciously, talked with Unity about it. And the reason I got you to tag him is because when this book came out, it was actually, he has like 100,000 followers on Twitter. But when this book came out, he says, if you have a book club meeting or whatever, I'll come. I don't care. And so I thought by tagging him, I honestly think we might be able, I really believe if he's still, that we might be able to get him here to fucking read some of this shit.
Do it, Josh. Yeah, we love him.
Super popular, but he's popular as a radio host. And I think he gets a kick out of people liking his book. And I think that like the carryover, like I think that it's like, you know what I mean? I just think he would be into people who are into his stuff. And I basically what I was trying to do with that, now it's all recorded so everybody knows the plan. But I thought maybe by tagging him, he might be fucking down with coming, because I think he would be. What's the take out of him? And he seemed earnestly interested in just fucking with this stuff. So
as a writer, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Thanks, Josh. That was awesome. Eris is up next.
What's up? Okay. That was amazing. That reminded me of like Laurie Notaro's book, The Idiot Girls Action Adventure Club, which is like my favorite book ever. Let me get this shit out of my lap. Tabs. Okay, this is titled, okay. Give me my body bag. I need my goddamn toe tag. Put me in the drawer or sing the answers. Car trunk. Put me on ice. Pull the plug. Disconnect. Recreate. Retrospection is overrated. Everything happened, but not in 2 words. You only have 2 words right now, but not those words. Not words. You know I am the king in the deck of cards. Ha ha. You know I read Ecclesiastes. Ha ha ha. You know I'm dead. Ha, you know I'm dead as the universe, posthumous repeating music of the helping hand of hell, dispatched to dispense with the matter of all the matters, the ultimate circumstance. I am not in the realms of mind, the gap. Is it not apparent? Are you not a slight ashamed? Ha, ashamed. You said it, not me. You don't love me. You never loved me. I'm a monster of your imagination's dread, reflex, impulse, inexorable. We kept going. We said things. Ha 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 thing. What a wonderful all-purpose word to describe the goings-on between us. We were having a thing. Her thing and my thing. The it thing. Is it you that's starting to forget? Or is it me that has already reminded you to, and you remember with this sentence, all alone in the closet of your ideal, in the shadow of your shadow, the secret hole inside the hole of every head that's graying eyes where we expense with our non-existence. Yes, we're digging our graves, but from the inside out, we're digging ourselves up. We are going to be exhumed in the aftertime. You will not disagree, you will see it. If you had lived to, but the chances were less than 1 and 2 that it will take you to the 2022. Bet on the blood of your ancestors. You know the odds of even my generation ever seeing the light are few, and even far less between on the quantum end ed. And thank God for that. This is the most decadent and ethically indecent generation yet to live in Earth's recent memory. The most overgrown, maladaptive, and malign smash and grab scab of benign dissimulation the budding tumor had ever known. It wasn't due to a partial aphasia. It wasn't reactive attachment disorder. It wasn't her answer over yours. And it wasn't about the color of your lipstick or who she left it on last. There will be no maudlin coda. To this, I sing the electric dialectic of the embodied mind in the modern day, particularly the pollution of self-conversational disassociation in every circumstance, which I am born of the kind of headache you almost pity, that would be lost without you. And then I also have Untitled. Okay. I wish I could make a career of showing everybody the door, figuratively, no less than literally. I could be a door-to-door salesman peddling one-way tickets out of this hilarious hell. Slogan? The getaway of a lifetime. I would lure the family out on false pretenses and have a demolition crew trash the house on my order, abduct the children, and leave the young parents homeless, demoralized, teary-eyed. Against the odds, I would raise charity money explicitly to force sterilizations en masse on the working class, network with like minds who held sway with more conspicuous political players to win the vote your conscience crowd, pass legislation to make neutering at birth as routine as circumcision once was. It could work. I would work by night as an unregistered orderly in several hospitals where I would invert the Hippocratic Oath and fuck the patient chart so I could push my own agenda. Morphine drips on helpless, convulsing infants. Since seniors boast the highest suicide rate, are largely incapable of bearing children, and are so typically infirm / demented anyway, I won't lose any sleep on how to minimize their dwindling carbon footprint. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Eris, the way these in both of these pieces, the way these lines are structured and flow together is eye-poppingly good. In that first poem, I love what you're doing with the line breaks there. The line breaks are so insidious and deceptive. And also the punctuation. Oh my God, the way you punctuate the mind the gap thing is fucking genius. And then like the play later where you go from end and then dash ed for editor, like the way you play with like the literary what's the word I'm looking for, like with the like expectations of like literary construction and poetic construction, and the way that the words bounce off of each other, especially in that second piece where there's like between the alliteration and the wordplay and the way the words like transform. This is fucking on like a level of what's happening on the page, just ignoring like the content here, just what's happening in the prose itself, in the words on the page. There's something fucking remarkable here, and it's so wonderfully playful, and it's good. It's really fucking good, Eris.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I really, in the second one, I think it's Untitled. I really love that line where there is the end, basically, where there is a will, there's a way, right? Because I picture this as being read by like, or performed or whatever. I picture this as like a Karen Margaret Sanger basically reading this and like just going off, just going as hard as fucking possible. And like, it's really like the content of this one, of Untitled, is like so searingly like, and I wrote sing-songy in the tweet, but it's more than that. It's really just like very vicious in a way that's funny, but also like really disturbing. It's great.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going for. Fuck yeah. Like a really like insane nurse or something. Thank you. Thank you so much for retweeting the part about inverting the Hippocratic Oath too.
I love that line. That is a really good line.
Thanks.
Oh, those were fucking fabulous, Eris. Thank you so much. Up next is either Gigi or Dan. Dan was scheduled for earlier in the night, but I think he was gone, and now I think he's back. Are you with us again, Dan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. So you can have the floor, and then Gigi. I know we're running a little bit late tonight, so there's not going to be a open mic after it. no more requests. Sam got in under the wire, but please don't DM Rudy or I any more requests. We don't have room after. I think we've still got 4 or 5 people left to go. So Dan, it's all yours.
All right. This is short. So this is called Safe Room. It's more sci-fi-ish. It doesn't lean towards like the usual of what I write with whatever mystical talking about magic and fucking, I guess. Okay, that's called Safe Room. Opening the blinds of this dumpy room gives us half and half view of the city. Old rusted shipping containers, industrial air conditioners, and wide leaky aluminum piping and the faint smell of a deep fryer. Adjust your eyes and you see ritzy skyscrapers that are always closer than they appear, but always, always out of reach. I try to forget my life, but it never works. My memories are chained to my body like a straitjacket, and I try not to look into the mirror anymore, light or dark. Every scar is an engagement ring death tried to force onto my finger. Still, it's a tradition to go out and pick a fight after getting out of the joint, and I do love my rituals. But I spend 4 hours tapping on the walls of my safe room. Comms were heavily filtered to the constantly useful or barely encouraging. Lady Firestorm doesn't fuck around. Tapping near a bug in the wall or even a small surveillance drone would trigger a proximity message to anyone with an internal codec. Some were sneakier and would hang on to listen to whatever was said in the room, but she could find where they were bridging their transceiver through the Faraday cage lining the walls between the steel plates and the drywall. A tap on the wall can relay via Bluetooth, but not very far. It didn't take much for her to fry every listening post within a kilometer of the safe room. My head was messy with voices, mostly pre-recorded or linked to a natural language processing AI, trying to push my consciousness towards some end that Lady Firestorm wanted to get rid of before we could speak. I closed my eyes and saw a bird's eye view of a very familiar place and a very familiar bird. It was strange to think that people still listened for their higher power or waited for a sign they should change, but the best hackers in the world never waited on further instructions. They all had their own vision of how the world should be, and whoever could win the day could have a good night's sleep. I had metal in my blood for a long time. It made it easier for corpos with proximity to me to calibrate when a message that bothered me came through. With metal inside you, it comes down to what your heart wants, always. I couldn't sleep and the nanogel in my eyes was fading. It was harder and harder for them to string you along or up and up without access to your eyes. I noticed people around the apartment safe house that weren't there before, but they all wore the same vented blue masks and black fitted baseball caps. Every time I went to the store, I'd notice them lingering around my apartment specifically. It was either a final detail they didn't think I would catch on to, or they were hoping it scared me. I could never tell if it was just a sim or what. After spending years in the polar wars, I was too bored with things to be afraid. Every type of pain, and always the best way out, is through. Keys and locks are never secure, so I oiled up the black steel of an old spearhead and kept it facing to my feet between myself and the door. The night previously, I noticed something had put a dab of face cream at the corner of my lip. Not a great joke considering my mental state. And these people felt free to violate someone else. That night, I coded a cooking kit I found in the hotel closet and left it in the kitchenette. I wanted to test their eyesight or maybe just their impulsivity. At 3 a.m., I heard a deadbolt unlock, then reached for the handle of the spear. If they knew what I know, they didn't need radio or cell comms to call for help. So I was about to see how badly they wanted to get close to me again. The door to my room opens and I hear him scratching along the wall for the switch until he finds it. But it lights up a lamp in the hallway so he can't see past into the small bedroom of the flophouse. Amateur hour. His half-second mistake is enough to drop him with one solid thrust just below his solar plexus with the blunt end of the spear. He vomits on the floor and doubles over just long enough for me to drag him into the dark and put a neural spike just below the base of the skull before I take him out of this room's Faraday cage. You need to speak English right fucking now, or else we're both gonna be in deep shit. The younger man coughs out and starts making hand gestures like sign language. Can you understand what I'm saying? He shakes his hand back and forth. Can you hear them right now? He shakes his head. I plug the neural spike between the second and third vertebrae. It's old tech, but it works. Will they come for you? I say inside my head. He shrugs his shoulders. Speak inside your head and they'll translate. Are you military? No, mon ami, much worse. Et tu? Yes, adjacent. Why are you here? They didn't say, the Frenchman says across neural comms. It doesn't matter, I say. You'll speak out both sides of your mouth regardless of being mute. I need to. The young man coughs, asks them, go ahead, but if you move your hands or lips, I'm going to give you a reverse tracheotomy. Someone is playing a trick on you and your people and me. They're bringing a black ambulance. The military hospital? Yes, but I have no idea how this is supposed to work. Well, we're on my turf, which means bad things for you and your people. But I've been retired, which means a lot of people are going to be getting phone calls they don't want to get at this hour, which is bad for you too, which means we're fucked enough to try some sneaky shit. You're too smart to be in the field, mon ami. I pat the kid on the shoulder. They're gonna bag me? Probably, but if your people hold out, I can make sure we both walk hand in hand, just like old friends. I stand up the kid and lead him out of the house and into the parking lot. He stabbed me with something. I grip his trapezius until he groans and gets used to being third eye blind before I drive the neural spike a bit deeper into his spine. Give me your frequency, I say authoritatively into the French kid's ear. This needs to be safe for all of us. I don't want to know where we're going as long as we get there safe, and everyone needs to figure out what the fuck this is about. You're local, I hear a more mature French accent say. Extremely local, and you should know not to be inside my home sneaking around. The only leverage I have is that I can listen to whoever the fuck these people are inside my head. Lady Firestorm goes quiet in these times so I can focus on what I can see, not what she knows. I hear an excited tone, so I assume the ambulance that's supposed to show up is at the edge of the parking lot, but I also hear faint whistling to know she's got my back on this one. That's it.
Dan, you're right. That is like, it's very different from what you usually write, but it works. It works. And I love the kind of like uniquely like grimy kind of setting that you laid out here. Like, it doesn't feel like standard, like, it doesn't feel like your standard, like William Gibson cyberpunk kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's proto cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So like not quite near future sci-fi, but like there's the tech that's there, but it's just not everyone is aware of it. Also, if you want more proto cyberpunk,
yes,
it's not out yet, but when it is, I'll post a link somewhere and read more from it.
Make sure you tag us and we'll signal to it. So was this was this from that?
No, this is about the main character in this book's father.
Oh, okay.
Who's like mentally ill at the start of this book and like a mentally ill drunk, but this is his part of his story, and now he gets through the Third World War that's focused on the Arctic, and then comes back home and tries to reintegrate into society. So like Rambo First Blood with a little bit of the Without Remorse by Tom Clancy, plus Cyberpunk 2077.
So you're kind of in the midst of building a little universe here then across multiple books, which is cool, which is something that like I've always wanted to do, but I need to finish like one novel first, right? But that's something that seems like really appealing to me, in part because like it's just something I think like we grow up immersed in all of these like constructed universes that don't like exist within a single novel. You know, I think that like anyone from our generation grew up like was raised more by television than by books, right? And so you want something, you don't like, it's harder to like envision a story contained within 150 pages, 200 pages, whatever. But I also think like now when we're so deep in like the mediocrity of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's another impulse there to be like, damn, I can do this better, right? This is, you know, to like want to prove that there's value in that scope and that it's just mediocrity in the execution, right?
The reason they changed it and it got weird, like the Marvel comic books in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s were about war and actual like the enemy du jour, right? Whereas now it's like they've got that, what is it, like Thanos, and then there's Ultimos or Alt something, but just these alien invaders which are infinite, and they can just keep using that so that they don't have to draw like parallels, or no one draws parallels to the current situation in the world. And that's kind of what makes them like palatable, but like also it's just kind of gross to kind of like resituate the Marvel universe, which Captain America fought Nazis, and
Right.
then suddenly like now he's fighting space aliens. Like, okay,
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
definitely agree with that as far as the Marvel books, you know, how like the X-Men in the 60s were about very close parallels to like civil rights movements, that kind of stuff like that was going on at the time. But about your piece, there's a couple lines in there really fucking metal. The one, the best hackers in the world never waited for further instructions. Like it really parallels how this piece is like kind of like an information overload, like, you know, like a literal DDoS on like your mind, all these different things being referenced, but like they're understandable. Like, you know, you mentioned the polar wars, you know, like the polar ice caps are melting and shit like that. I mean, you can imagine what that is when you say it in the text, and it's just really, really fucking cool. And one of the things that got me is, like William said, it doesn't feel like, you know, a usual cyberpunk type universe, because I guess like you said, it's proto cyberpunk, right? I mean, it's and the thing you do with like how this is linked to your other work, the book that you have there, I think Peter Watts actually does a similar thing, and I love it. I love it when authors do this. But like, there's a character in well, there's Blindsight and there's Echopraxia that follows that, but then there's a book between those, or in somehow that references those, that were like the character's father from one of the books is a character in like this little short story, this little vignette kind of. And it's really cool when you see that in sci-fi, because it's like, it's sort of a way to peel back layers of this character, you know, where you see them kind of evolve, and you see that without having to beat that character to death. And it's really cool. I like that. That's what I say.
yeah, thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
William,
So,
I just have one
you
question.
read it-
I have
oh, Josh.
one request. I'm gonna post a link here. It's with what you tweeted about me reading Rude Jude. If anybody here can just like this tweet, because I looked at his following. He has 100,000 followers. He doesn't get much engagement. If people like it, he's gonna notice. And I want Rude Jude to come in here. So that's all I'm saying. That's all.
Okay, Josh.
I already liked it, but I'll retweet it.
Thank you.
Awesome. So moving right along here, because it's getting late and my battery's dying, and I want to make sure everyone gets in and that we get some time to bullshit afterwards. GG.
Yeah, I'm gonna read some stuff. Fuck was that? All right, I'm gonna read some stuff from my book here because I need to sell copies.
Someone was just really excited that you were going to read.
Either way, I appreciate the enthusiasm. Buy my book, he. It sucks, but I need money for beer and weed. So I'm gonna read some poems. This first one's called "I am not ready to accept that the customer is not right. The fascists at Claire's would not pierce my penis. I have never had a wet dream. I'm too good at masturbating. I need to prove to a hooker that it is just about the sex. No medical professional ever agrees to beat me up. They just laugh. Sometimes the way I am makes the person I am talking to uncomfortable. I will ask them about this later. I will think this is all in my head, or I only associate with people who lie to me. The next time I see a dead animal on the road, I'm going to kick it all the way home. This one I've definitely read before. Misery Tourism published this. This is called 10 Poems Found in Internet Comment Sections. 1. At the Kennedy Space Center, you can touch a piece of the moon the Apollo astronauts brought back. After years and years of touching, it feels like a piece of tile. 2. Whoever said she wasn't hot anymore was blind. I want her to ride me until the heartbreak goes away. 3. You know, if you think a girl is sexy, half the credit is due to her father, so you gay. 4. I looked at this because almost all the plants my mom gets die within less than a week. I think it is because she yells a lot, and sometimes I am scared of when she yells. 5. How do you deal with the fact that life sucks ass, but sometimes in the middle of the shit, a short appearance of great beauty happens, and then it continues sucking ass? 6. We're designed to be alone, caring too much about others who don't give a shit about us. 7. I want to be in love again. Haha, I've never been in love. 8. Flirtatiously grab the roll of Smarties from a girl's pocket. It's a tampon. Fuck. 9. This was grim and my worst fear, ending up lonely and middle-aged, basically talking to yourself and picking fights with service employees, but grateful that it's live humans to talk to. 10. Saying the tiger is sad because it's in the zoo, I don't think is correct. It's a pretty nice life compared to the wild, where only 1 of 8 tigers have a chance of living to an adult. Here he does not go hungry and can play and sleep. Most tigers in the wild wish they could get that gig.
Oh, the best of the night.
Yeah, chill, I got a couple more. This one's called planning. My gun is in 12 parts and fits in a gun, or my coffin is in 12 parts and fits in a gun. The gun is dropped into a regular coffin, only that coffin is shaped like a bullet and my grave hole looks like a gun. A service is held in silence. The pastor cowboy spins a revolver, holsters it, and hands out ammunition. At my wake, it is raining. Everyone stands outside, shooting clouds they dislike. No one dares sing over the gunfire. I got 2 short ones and then a long one, and then I'll be done here. This one's called All That Is Right and All That Is Left. I'm going to chop off my left arm, and you are going to chop off your right arm so we can lie facing each other comfortably. This one's called Dick B. One of the algorithms helps me meet you. Another helps me find more grape flavored candy. So instead of putting my ashes when I die into the great big ash pile, find a way to get us into an algorithm so 2 other humans can love. And I got my last one. This one's a little long. This poem's called Art History, originally published on Misery Tourism. 1. Michelangelo sometimes felt self-conscious while carving or drawing dicks. He would pretend to be working on another part of the art if he heard someone coming. Often he was not fast enough or too focused. A pope would say, Mike, you've been working on that dick for at least 8 days now. What do you say we move on? Maybe the shoulders could use some work? 2. In the bottom right corner of that ceiling of the Sistine mural is a drawing of a dick covered by that pope's face. 3. The Medici family is discussed in the town square. They're financing artists to paint and sculpt dicks. 4. In a social situation, Michelangelo says, sorry, but I need to get back to the Vatican. I gotta finish shading Jesus's dick. 5. Michelangelo and Da Vinci engage in painting competitions, but just measure dicks. That's all I got.
I read that the dick poem to people in rehab all the time.
Can I support this now? You're done?
I'm done talking, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure because I preemptively celebrated the cucking of everyone else. I mean, this was, you know what? Yeah, my favorite. Who cares what I think? But it's just like this was so good, and it reminds me that you need to send me your book, by the way, and I'll pay. I know it's annoying to ship to Canada, and I know that Brodigan is a big influence of yours, but the only poem in which that was clear was the arm one, which was not at all a ripoff, but that was the only Brodigan-y one. The other ones were quite different. It was also good, Gigi. I forget how good you are, possibly because I have this love-hate internal relationship with you. And then somebody will text me and I'll think that, oh, that's nice. And then they'll say a mean thing to me in an after hours video chat. And I'll think, oh, I hate Gigi for 2 weeks. And the quality of your work gets lost in all of that, but you are so good. And again, I know you don't care what I say. I just wanted to say it because, you showed me that Talkativeness poetry collection. You're one of the only people on earth who can show me a poetry collection that I haven't heard of that I'll love. It was amazing. But your work is so good. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to know you. It's amazing. No, I'm being lame. It's true. This is so good. It's so good. That's it.
Thank you, Josh. Gigi, those were phenomenal. Obviously, we published a few of them, so obviously I love them. But you were reading that set of poems, and I talk a lot about how funny your work is and how you have this mastery of this kind of sick absurdism. But listening to those poems, I was struck by how sweet they are. The arm poem is one of the sweetest love poems that I think I've heard in a long time. And they're just there's a real deep humanity, a real deep humane kindness lying below the surface of these really absurd, dark, nasty poems. And I don't give you enough credit for that, Gigi. Like the humanity.
I'm
of
a
it.
sweetie pie. Come on now.
Yeah, sweetie pie, Gigi.
Sweetie Pie Gigi. Fuck Gigi, the coffin poem, the gun coffin thing. Holy shit. That was fucking that wow, that I don't really even know what to say about it, but like the way the gun fits into the coffin, is a barrel, is a a chamber, is oh god, it's just that was amazing. That was the most amazing one I heard. Yeah, it was really good.
I agree. However, I think Gigi is best tasted if you've read everything Richard Brautigan has ever done, and then you experience Gigi. You realize that he's part of a lineage, and yet he's still fucking good. It'd be easy, yeah, to not.
Thank you to everyone who said something nice. I really appreciate it, and thanks, William, for having me, and thanks for listening, everyone else.
Thank you, GT. Josh, we're all part of a lineage. That's what it means to be a writer.
That's what I was
and
saying.
we're all fucking good.
It's especially no, but I'm saying it's especially like I didn't think there was room to play, and there was.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Gigi.
Oh, he's now ready to bet. Someone's a
Josh, we need to move on. I don't have that much gas in the tank. I don't have that much battery life, like both physical, in the reality of my computer situation and in my brain, as you can tell, since I'm stumbling here. Anyway, Troy is up next. We've got 3 left. We've got Troy, we've got Grapes, we've got 4 left. Troy, Grapes, Sam, Rudy. So let's go, Troy.
All right. Let me sit down here. Okay, I don't know if I've read this shit before, so whatever. I don't think I have, but calculus, 8 a.m. Concentration is already an issue. Even when I'm on my meds, when this asshole named Martin, who knows where I sit and why, was in my spot when I came running into class 5 minutes late. I took a seat in the back, deciding it was a waste of time to pay attention. It was spite on his part, no doubt, a power play. Him just being his dickhead self, probably because I'd fucked him within the first week of class and ghosted his ass like, man, I don't owe you shit, get it? And like most men, he didn't get it, would refuse to get it. Like, I just want to have some sex, no strings attached, that's all. And he's all wanting to tell me he's in love and stuff. I tried to explain to him that I've already been through middle school. He told me he felt used, and I told him, so what? Did you enjoy yourself? That's what it's all about. That's some gooey dating bullshit. You should be happy. After class, I told Martin to go fuck himself for taking my seat, then went to meet up with Christina at the student center. I was starving, but had no money for food. So I drank lukewarm coffee from a styrofoam cup while she talked on and on about her weekend in Boston, all the food she'd consumed, all the booze she'd drank. I hardly caught any of it, just heard blips of sound and nodded, occasionally said, damn, you serious? That was the only class I had on Tuesday, so when Christina finally ran out of breath, I went home and masturbated to an old X-Files episode until I was tired enough to go back to sleep. When I woke up, I had a text from this guy, Kevin, who I met at Club X one night last semester. Took him long enough. I think he was scared of me. It was either me or my penchant for trying to get some pegging done inside those strange wide folds of a sloppy night. I tried with him, as is my modus operandi. But trust me, there's no convincing anybody when you're dealing with a nerd of that magnitude. Chelsea called me around noon. I'm pregnant. Again. Yeah, what's new? I said. It's already grown quite a bit. I'm 3 months into this shit, she said. I'll have to have a real abortion. I knew what she meant by real. She ate morning after pills like they were candy. I'm sorry, girl. Whose is it? That guy Kevin, the guy you hooked up with last semester, she said. That's totally weird. He just texted me out of the blue and wants to take me out for some beers sometime. Really? Don't worry, I haven't responded yet. What are you gonna say? Obviously, I'm gonna tell him to get lost. No, for real, you should go, she said. Seriously, he doesn't know I'm pregnant. You should go, for real. Get the inside scoop. I have no interest in doing that, I said. He got super pissed when I suggested doing butt stuff. He yelled at me, said, "What, you think I'm a faggot?" And I was like, "No, dude, it's just something people do, okay? Chill." He said, "Faggot?" I know, right? Total douchebag. Probably has a tattoo of Elliot Rodger on his foreskin. I laughed. Yeah, we need to get ourselves a couple of Chads, don't we? Yep, I'm tired of these incel assholes. I don't even want to ask him for money. He's probably one of these dudes who will try to tell me I have to keep it, you know? Oh, definitely. He shouldn't know about it, I said. The alarm on my nightstand went off, signifying lunchtime with Dad. We had lunch together twice a week, even though I couldn't stand him. It was just one way around not having to eat ramen or mac and cheese for the umpteenth time in a day. Hey, Chels, I have to go. Lunch with Dad. Call me later, okay? All right, love you. Talk soon. Bye. We always ate at Applebee's. We always sat in a booth. My dad always ordered the same thing. I always tried something different. This time it was a monstrosity called a brunch burger, a cheeseburger with hash browns and a fried egg loaded with ketchup. I scarfed it down while my dad told me he was thinking about leaving my mom. He kept talking and talking. I kept chewing and averting my eyes. Well, he said, what do you think I should do? I burped and grabbed my stomach. God damn, that was a lot of food. He just looked at me, waiting, sipped a bit of his Coke. I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to have to abort this fat ass food baby in a minute. Hope you're cool with that. Jesus Christ, he said, unamused. Can't you take me seriously for even 10 goddamn minutes? What do you want me to say? I said. You want me to comfort you, tell you it's okay to leave my mother? You're fucked. Sure, that's what I say. Dump the bitch. Is that what you want from me? He looked embarrassed, ashamed, and I was good with that, even though a part of me felt sorry I'd made a scene. He drove me back to my apartment without uttering a single word. I stood in the parking lot for a minute, wondering what in the hell was wrong with me. I mean, why couldn't I have just kept my mouth shut? But also, my mother didn't deserve to be deserted like that, did she? I went into my bedroom and sprawled on my bed, watched General Hospital on mute while texting Kevin. I told him I was not interested in going out for drinks, not in the least, not ever, and he should just up and lose my number because, frankly, I'm way out of your fucking league, dude. He never texted back. Thank God. Chelsea called me later that night as promised and said she wanted me to go to the clinic with her next Tuesday. I told her, of course, I'll be there. Hang in there. Try not to freak out about anything. I'm feeling all right, she said. Thanks for being so good to me. Of course. I love you, boo. I'll see you tomorrow. I called my dad and canceled our lunches for the next couple of weeks. I said, sorry, Dad, but I can't handle you anymore. I'm not your fucking marriage counselor. Maybe if you want to get together sometime and ask me how I'm doing, we can do that. But for now, I don't want to see you anymore. I hung up the phone and a sad satisfaction rippled through me. I couldn't believe that this life we live is real and all you can do is try to make the most of it, you know, even when everybody and everything is so fucked up, including yourself. I had to vent, so called Christina, told her all about my shitty day, and that golden bitch let me. Wait, she said, maybe your mom should peg your dad. No, gross. Seriously, she said. Fuck off. No. I mean, you never know, she said. Maybe then he'd see the light. All right. This one, okay. So I intentionally plagiarized a part of this. and that's like the point of the story. But it's yeah, the opening of the Tropic of Cancer is in here somewhere. Uh, Daydream Nation. Hours were spent walking lengths of highway, wagging my thumbs at passing cars. The sky overcast, ready to rain or hail. I didn't even have an umbrella, just shitty clothes that hadn't been washed in a decade. 15 miles, face gone red with sweat, burning. A tattooist named Gabriel picked me up just outside El Dorado. It was beginning to rain. Gabe chain smoked Pall Mall lights and listened to hair metal, drumming his hands on the steering wheel and dashboard as he drove. He seemed to drive without any other purpose than that of occasionally swerving to hit dead animals and lisping twisted sister lyrics into the cab. 50 miles down, I was dry and happy and didn't mind the shitty music, the hand drumming, or even the grotesque calculated treatment of roadkill. I just wanted to be home on my own soil. I wanted to lounge around in my old furniture, loiter inside my ex-wife, and fish the silver water next to Skillet Rock. Remember what it was like to be a boy discovering the world for the first time. And then Gabriel started telling me about his charms, his ability to read auras and palms, look into the depths of souls and tell people their futures. And I was bored, so I said, shoot, tell me mine. And this plagiarist, he had the gall to tell me the weather will continue bad. There will be more calamities, more death, more despair. Not the slightest indication of a change anywhere. The cancer of time is eating you away. Your heroes have killed themselves or are killing themselves. The hero then is not time, but timelessness. You must get in step. I left him with his neck like a rubber band on the shoulder of the highway because, as it turns out, I learned to read while I was locked up. There's nothing in this world I can't stand more than a fraudulent little fuck like him. That's life, turns out. I never knew what it was all about, why people do these things. But I'm telling you, what I'm about to tell you is the sound it made when his neck snapped is the closest I've come to touching the spiritual, like dancing around inside the skins of ghosts. Only thing I regret is he didn't look the part of a politician. That'd be a suicide. All right. I got one more little tiny thing. What would you do? Janice rested the heel of her foot on the edge of the bed, cotton balls wedged between her toes, and painted her nails. Martin had a collection of moths pinned beneath the glass in a frame above his desk. He tapped the glass, inspecting them one by one and row by row while throat singing. He hadn't had a lesson in years, not since graduating law school and passing the bar. Sorry. But he still had it. Sounded like an ancient monk hidden away in the Tibetan mountains, vibrating prayers deep into the rocks and snow. Janice fell back on the bed and let the paint dry beneath the ceiling fan, watching Martin as he executed the strange routine near the desk. When he finished making noises, she said, "Aren't you going to fuck me? We haven't had sex in months." "Oh, well, yeah," he said. Did you forget you married an idiot?" He slowly undressed. She watched him, letting her bathrobe fall open. They started slowly and mimicked each breath from the other. When they were done, Janice limped down with all her weight on his body. Cotton balls scattered about and stayed there. "What if I told you I killed somebody?" Martin blurted. Janice laughed and rolled off him, sweat beaded over her body, glistening. "No," he said. "Seriously, what if I told you I killed somebody? A child, what would you do?" She hummed about the room, dressing into pajama bottoms, a torn t-shirt, and said, "What do you think I'd do?" "I don't know," he said. "You tell me." "Well," she said, "I'd probably start calling you Lenny, tell you about the rabbits, get an abortion, and tell you to go fuck yourself, something like that, maybe in a different order." "Wait," he said. "Abortion?" Janice left the room without explanation. Martin stayed staring at the ceiling, wishing he hadn't said anything. A little later, Janice walked by the bedroom, said, "I'm gonna go watch some TV," and turn off the light. Martin fell asleep, laughing in the darkness she'd left him in, the glow from the hall slightly illuminating his bare chest as he breathed. All right, I think that's it. Thank you, guys.
Troy, somehow, in a series of stories that included multiple abortions, a guy who ran over already dead roadkill, and Elliot Rodger tattooed on someone's foreskin, it was still the breakfast burger that was the image that made me most sick to my stomach. But Troy, those are, I think I've said this before, but it astounds me, like, the way you write some really dark shit. Even by the standards of like misery tourism, you write some really dark shit. But what astounds me is not the darkness here, but like the psychological depth and the weirdly spiritual clarity of these stories. It reminds me like Flannery O'Connor, where there's like the stories are pitch fucking black, but there's this uncanny sense of like weird moral clarity that permeates them, right? This uncanny sense of like this weird, deeper spiritual understanding of like the debased nature of humanity. And it's really fucking good, Troy. I know I say really fucking good a lot. It's really
Thanks so
fucking good.
much. I really appreciate that.
The O'Connor comparison is on point. This is the level. Seriously, I mean, really like Flannery O'Connor. That's iconic. But Troy really is at that level.
Yeah,
Let's
seriously.
not forget some of these stories. Shit.
Oh, fuck. That's crazy.
Well, Troy, I have most books now, and now I actually have. I think with this one, I have all of them, and I don't know. My opinion doesn't matter, but I've read O'Connor, and I love O'Connor, and misinterpreted O'Connor to my own means. But I mean, you're at I don't know. You're at, I feel, for me anyways, a different level than and not to make this, it's not about class. It's just, yeah, you're very talented, and I think it's reasonable that we're uttering O'Connor's name in the same sentences that we are your stories. That's all.
Yep, just real quick, I just want to say that your voice, Troy, is really perfect for this. It's amazingly, your cadence and your voice, the way you perform it is really good and really lends something to it. But the story is excellent.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for letting me read.
Yeah,
especially
thank you.
like just butting in.
Oh no.
Buy the books though, people. I know some of you have money. I have money. I know it. I buy the books, so buy the book. And this is, he's not telling. I'm just saying. I try to do it. Do it if you have the money. If you don't have the money, I don't know, bully people who have the money to do it.
Get simps.
Yes, get people to simp you, as I know how to do. Often people are simping me, and I tell them, buy Troy's book. They're simping me, and I'm like, no, don't simp me. Simp him. Buy the book.
Josh, will you buy me Troy's book?
Josh, will you buy me Troy's book? I'm unemployed.
I'm on disability. Help me.
I was gonna say, buy Gigi's book.
No, buy Troy's book. My book sucks.
No,
I bought
send
your
you the
book. It's
PDF.
wonderful.
If anybody wants the PDF of my book, I'll send it to you for free if you
know
send me a
what?
funny joke.
If anyone wants a PDF of my book, I want $4.
Sabotage.
This is the opposite of like kind of cock swinging book selling, and yet it gets back to that same point. It is still, I'm more generous. Don't buy my book, buy his book. No, come on, no. We have enough money. I'm gonna do a fundraiser. It'll be great. Eris, anybody else? DM me about these book buying
This
arrangements.
is all I have. I have $5.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm a very generous. I think I'm a very generous. That's not, yeah. But you know what?
$5.
Josh, shut up. On to the next reader. Let's go.
We gotta get rolling here. Thank you, Gigi. Grapes is next. Thank you, Troy. Thanks so much. Grapes is next. And I apologize if it looked like I was fumbling around there. I actually just had to go and run and get my charger to plug in the netbook. It'll survive the next few readers. So Grapes, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I have 5 poems, I believe. And they're not orthodox for the most part, fairly unchristian pieces. First one is titled Coming to My Purple Vibrator. Smoking the time away every day, I can't remember the day before. A purple pink dragonfly passes by. A mosquito leaves a red dot on my arm where I fed them. My coming in 20 seconds from the electronic vibrations of my multi-setting vibrator. I listen to the rest of the song that drowns out the sound of my vibrator to my aunts. It's Bonnie and Clyde by Serge Gainsbourg and Brigitte Bardot. Thought of no one in my coming experience. In a trance from the physicality of the vibrator, I existed in seconds of physical bliss. The next one is titled Not Quite Rare. She got her tits done. She looks like your favorite candy now. Her face and hair are cute, sexy too, more than your standard Hefner doll. The demeanor she carries is pleasant as well. She's a nice lady. She's done well. My next poem is titled Put My Foot in the Cab Driver's Mouth soon as Oi got my nails done. This thing led to another, and before we know it, I had my manicured thumb up his ass, hitchhiking a ride every night. Moaning in my ear, he says something incoherent. I said, what? He mumbles, I still can't hear. I say, speak up, babe, I can't hear you. Removing my thumb from his ass, he looks at me and says, fuck, I think I love you. Next poem, it's 4 lines. So it's titled Whatever. Okay, yeah, fine. All right, my last poem. It's titled My Internet Activity is Dull. And maybe it's because I'm boring. Someone tells me, they think I seem calm, by the way, by the look of my internet activity. I think of the time I threw the sewing machine down the stairs and say, thank you.
That last poem is so fucking good. So, I said this about your previous, I said this when you read in the past, right? But you have a real remarkable like sense of concision to your work where you say a lot with very few words. And I mean your yeah, whatever poem like really captures that, right? Where you can see like the deep, like maybe not distress, but you can see that that's a miserable human being, right? For
the distress is correct and miserable is also correct.
In just those 4 words, in those 4 carefully chosen words, you communicated a whole mood that's so much larger than that. And in the first poem, the image of the dragonfly and then the use of the word seconds later does so much to like cleverly undermine the rest of it, right? Like, because the set, you really underscore the transience of that moment of pleasure, right? Like the way it zips by and it's gone with the dragonfly and then coming back to seconds later. There's just so much here where like little instances of word choice communicate so much subtly. So these are great poems, is what I'm trying to say in my stumbling way. Thank you so much for reading. You can tell I'm getting tired. Do I look fatigued?
No, William. You look sprightly as ever.
I just want to get in the whatever poem. In those 4 lines, I saw the character Daria from Daria, and that's what William mentioned. Just seeing something, that's what I saw, and maybe Jane Lane too. But no, I love the one with the cab driver. That one is so like twisted and awesome. That's really good. But these are all very good.
Thank you so much, Grace.
Appreciate it.
No, 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 no.
Greg, you make me proud to be Colombian.
Yeah.
Gigi doesn't have like actual Ray-Bans.
What?
What?
I just would have thought, you know.
What'd you
Josh,
say?
you have a crush on Gigi.
He does. I'm never gonna fuck him though, even though he wants it.
Well,
That's what he likes about you.
He invited me.
There's
He
game.
He likes the teasing I play with him. Yeah.
He
Okay,
invited me.
guys, we
Next reader.
for the after party if one happens. We've got 2 readers left. Thank you so much, Grapes. Sam.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank
is
you.
next. Yeah, thank you. Sam is next, and then Rudy, and then we're shutting this shit down, okay? Sam, it's all yours.
Hello? Hello?
Clearly.
I hear you good.
All right, let me copy and chat. And I read this a few weeks. Oh, wait, I sent that to Brandon Norcross, my bad. I read this a few weeks ago. It was really funny. Hello? Will, are you talking? I read this a few weeks ago and I thought it was really funny. So now in Indianapolis.
Sam, you're breaking up now. Oh, can you hear us, Sam? We cannot hear you at the moment.
Yes.
I think you're having some technical difficulties. You know what, Sam, while you're trying to get, I don't know if you've got a bad connection or if you're having trouble with your mic or your phone, but while you're figuring that out, why don't we do Rudy? We'll circle back to you and we'll let you close the night.
Sam just dipped out. I think he's gonna rejoin.
Okay. Why don't we, we'll do Rudy then, and then when Sam reappears after Rudy's done, he can close out the night here.
Okay. So William, I just sent you a message. If you can,
I was on that. I was already there, man.
Okay, gotcha. So I'm just gonna start reading because this is about 1,500 words. So.
Are you going to screen share?
Yes, I will.
Share, Rudy, while you read.
Roger that.
Wait, hello?
Oh, hey, Sam. Oh, Sam's back. Oh, you're having, seems like you're breaking up a lot.
Yeah, you're still breaking up.
Nobody has real Ray-Bans but me.
I heard something about Wi-Fi.
No, Rudy, but it was about Ray-Bans. Nobody has real Ray-Bans but me. I'm surprised.
Josh, everyone is poor. I don't know if you understand. I don't know if you understand what it is to be an artist who doesn't have a blue check, but everyone is poor, Josh.
I know. These are real Ray-Bans. I bought these like 5 or 6 years ago. I'm just taking good care of. I wiped off the bit that says Ray-Bans though, because I think the branding was gay. So
The branding was gay. Oh, no. So what's your battery like, man?
My battery is okay because I'm plugged in now.
You're plugging in. Okay.
Oh, fuck yeah, after party.
That after party. So you want me to go ahead or should we wait for Sam?
Yeah, you should go. Well, actually, Sam is unmuted now and still here.
Okay.
Sam, are you,
Sorry, Sam.
1 second.
Okay, I heard that.
I heard you better now.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear that?
I hear you.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me find the light. I'm trying to find I'm staying with my parents right now, so I'm trying to find a silent room. All right, because this. All right. Let me post the piece. Oh, wait. Shared it with Elizabeth, my bad. All right, this is called, it's something I've been working on. It's about living in Indianapolis. Hey man, how's it hanging? You liking it up here? Naptown, baby. I love Naptown, Indianapolis. The super real place, grittier, you know? And it's got a great art scene, a great music scene. I'm writing a deathcore EP. Did I tell you? The first song is called One, and the time signature is 1. No, not 1/1, just 1. It's one single chug on fret 1. So the tabs are also just 1 across the neck 1 time. And it rings out for 1 minute. But we should see a show sometime, man. But first, let's go check out First Friday here in Naptown. Go check out that art scene. It's so cool. On First Friday. Tonight, on March 4th, 2022. Let's see some of the astute work of IUPUI's finest students. This one is a psychedelic bacteria study of alien creatures. See, he attributes human emotions to bacteria as a critique of anthropocentrism. So giving the bacteria the emotions of humans makes it less anthropocentric. Anthropocentrism is a huge issue in the art scene, my man. Only the worst and most shit garbage art is anthropocentric. It's something I know I've been working on. That paradigm is the most bitch-made bullshit. Like, you'd have to be a fucking moron to think with it. Throw that shit out. Do it right. What are you gonna cry? Are you crying about how you really were anthropocentric this whole time? Fucking pussy. I'm just messing with you, bro. Like I said, avoiding anthropocentrism is something I'm working on too. I can't expect you to be doing it perfect already. I didn't mean for you to feel gaslit by that. It won't happen again. I know you would never be knowingly anthropocentric. Nobody in Naptown has ever been knowingly anthropocentric since like 2017. At least, not except for those cocksucking Indianapolis Metropolitan Police, their worthless pig-fuck wives, and those filthy kikes that run Eskenazi Hospital, which is a usurious institution that I think we should burn down. Aside from those people, Naptown residents think in strictly theocentric paradigms, and that's fucking facts. Isn't First Friday yet, though? It's actually the Thursday before First Friday, my guy. It's Thursday, March 3rd, 2022, here in Naptown. There's a comedy open mic next to the poetry open mic. We can get our yucks out at the comedy open mic after hearing art at the slam poetry open mic. But it's all very organic. We can hear a comedian break their set to tell a personal story of the time they partied with the other comedians in the audience. Of the poem, of the open mic who yell, "Ooh," when she points at them, and who did coke, but of course they don't do coke anymore. legendary. That guy has cancer and he's blind. He's just using his time to ask women in the audience to fuck him before he dies. What a piece of shit. I'm glad he has cancer. And I hope his son gets it too. Remember when that woman mentioned that they're from Compton? That killed. Indianapolis is so badass. Naptown is so badass that a woman from fucking Compton lives here. Where else? What other place in the world could you find a woman from Compton? I haven't been to any. Have you? And it's the same woman that reads art. I love a city that loves art at the poetry open mic, which is next door. Wasn't it great the way she screamed staircase wit at the parent that raped her? That shit wasn't anthrocentric. That's for damn sure. I can tell when something isn't now, because I've been working on that since we've last spoke. Oh man, first Friday is here in Naptown, Indiana. That is, it is March 4th, 2022. For real this time, man. I'm pumped. Let's see what those hair-on guys and girls cooked up. Fuck, I hope they didn't hear me say that. Those were anthrocentric pronouns. I think we're good. Check this painting out. The description says, ah, fuck. They're being anthrocentric. I think we're good though. It looks like being anthropocentric is different than being anthrocentric. See? Fucking retard. Just kidding. This one looks kind of bad. They can't all be winners. Look at that lady. She's wearing a dress that's made out of gravel. Okay. Let's network. I gotta find a new drummer for my deathcore band. Oh, look. It's the Black Radicals at First Friday. Selling art and fashion at First Friday. Do you think any of them play drums with lightning fast double bass? Remember the riots? I'll talk to them about George Floyd before I ask them if they play drums, because it taught me that I need to work on some things, and it will establish credibility and interest in my deathcore project. I know it taught me to do better. Like now, I wait at least an hour to file a noise complaint on my Black neighbors. And I've stopped specifying truthfully that the neighbors are Black, while still couching the call itself in the lie about my having heard gunshots coming from their residence. The police response is obviously a lot less efficient since those pig-fuck wife hackers at the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department are so freaking racist. But it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make to work on my biases. That's something I've been working on since we last spoke also. You were there, I bet, at the protests. I wasn't, but don't tell anyone. Hey, check out this underground zine. It's the Black Revolutionary They-Thems. Look at how cool they look. They're dressed like real Black Panthers. Real quick, before I go talk to them about George Floyd, let's read this magazine aloud to each other. It's full of manifestos about revolution and poems. And they all use the word, hey, footnote. The original, fully written out instance of this slur was authored by a contracted writer of African American origin. The hiring process was done holistically so as to avoid the accusation of hiring a writer merely for their ability to type a specific instance of a slur without consequence. A large set of resumes from persons of varying ethnicity was randomized, then farther randomized Selections of this set were vetted, hired, and paid in full. Each contracted writer was then given the assignment to type the asterisk sentence, filled in with the most offensive slur they could use. Then a program was written in-house to randomly select one of the sentences from the total set of all the writer's works for filling in the Google document. The program was run roughly 9.3 billion cycles until the most intelligible slur was chosen by machine learning AI. This AI was created by a different set of contracted applicants who were selected, vetted, hired, and given assignment in accordance with the same process as described for the writers. As the reader has likely noted, the decision was ultimately made to edit the mass of the slur out of the piece due to it being funnier if the narrator does not actually get to say all of it. Thus, the budget used for developing this sentence alone, roughly $1.4 million, might seem entirely wasted. In response to this accusation of wastefulness, the author notes that if communication was successful, if the reader filled in the blank themselves, then reference still obtains due to the partial term sense being revelatory. Footnote: Kripke, Saul, Frege's Theory of Sense and Reference. Some exegetical notes. Philosophical Troubles, page 259, 260. Oxford, Oxford University Press, 2011, return to first footnote. Which means that this partial use of the slur still fully counts and would still be subject to the same accusations of racism had the author not taken the measures described at the beginning of this footnote, which means that the author is just as edgy and just as cool as in this instance as he would be if he had included the entire slur. And he is in fact not a coward for making this partial edit, which, as noted, was performed to wring out several additional punchlines from this extremely hacked premise and not to avoid scrutiny. Should the author decide to include this entire slur in reprintings, this footnote shall henceforth function as audit trail in order to allow this move the legitimacy it already would have had if the author had decided to include it in its entirety at present. Return to the story. One second. What the hell, dude? Did you just start walking away from me like you don't know me when I was only 3/4 of the way done saying the thing I was saying just a second ago? I was also gonna say they had never held guns. You just made me look like a huge faggot in front of a lot of guys who can probably play double bass really fast. Now my deathcore band will definitely have to use a drum machine to record our EP. And I have to program it while also recording bass, guitar, and singing vocals. We've got shirts, by the way. Do you want to buy a shirt? Actually, I'll hook you up for free, since I'm in charge of merch too. And sorry I can't hang tomorrow. Naptown dating. What are you doing Saturday? Sorry, bro. Like I said, I can't hang. I have a date on Saturday here in Naptown. My Tinder has been blowing up with poly they thems, bro. Not the ones from hair and art school, though. They them are too young for me. But the older ones, I'm booked solid every Saturday with them they. Sorry, bro, you know me. I've been busting so many fat ropes and so many poly they thems that those pronouns could still be taken as strictly specifying plurality for all my utterances, if you catch my drift. But that's something I'm working on too. The end.
Sam, when you said you were going to read this, I was like, okay, he's read it once before. I know the jokes. He's not going to get me this time. I was like, I'm prepared. I'm not going to lose my shit. And then, and then the fucking...
Dude, that footnote, I wrung a lot out of that footnote.
Fucking, the footnote destroyed me, Sam. The footnote just kept getting funnier and funnier and funnier. I can't even fucking talk. I'm so tired, but I'm just your commitment to that bit within the footnote. It's unbelievable.
That's legit in Saul Kripke's article too.
Really?
Like, yeah, I was reading that I was studying that article when I was writing this. Revelatory senses, they're real, bro. And I'm racist for saying that one.
Yes, you are.
Holy shit, that footnote. I had seen the footnote before, but god damn it, Sam, that was brilliantly
I wish
scientific.
is Alexandrine on here right now?
No, I don't think she's in tonight.
Oh, I was,
damn.
I don't think she's here.
She was the first one to congratulate me for my Proud Boy shirt. She knew right away.
No, she told me that like the first time I read that I secured her belief in that all white people should be eliminated.
Does sound like
With-
her. Oh.
Rip.
Well, you know what? Actually, that makes sense because as a Jew, I'm not white. So, because she never said that to me. She wasn't saying that kind of thing to me. But you know what? Yeah.
I think she probably said it to Sam as a compliment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was about to say.
I love her.
Josh, in Europe, you're white, so you're eliminated.
No, actually, no, Keiko, you're completely wrong. That is the place where the Jews are the white.
No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But we have one story to go. There is absolutely no way we could squeeze in an argument about whether or not Jews are white. An argument that has been going on for 5 or 6
personally,
years.
I think Josh is white. Just by the way, personally, I will sell him out.
Well, no, yes, in North America. But in
Thanks,
Keiko,
Samuel.
Keiko's
You're
country,
Canadian. You're
in
Canadian,
Keiko's
Josh.
country, if I walk
That's
over
like
there, they're just waiting.
Absolutely no way we can't. Okay. Rudy is up next with we can have this argument after.
Definitely, William. I agree. Josh is whiter than me. Yes. Continue, please.
No, look at what happened in Chechnya. Anyways, let's go on.
Okay, Rudy, the floor is yours.
Okay, I would probably give up my space for this argument if people were gonna continue. But okay, I'll take William's thing, and I'm just gonna share my screen and read this shit because I want to get it done here. Screen share incoming. Everybody see that? Cool. This is the last estate piece written by me. It's called Empty Pop Bottles, Player versus Player Mechanics, ranked by how angry they'd make Mr. John Denver. Folk country legend Mr. John Denver was a complicated man. He was every bit as complicated as, and I gotta close that, as the probable internet feuds about his legacy. 100 tweet Tumblr screeds where the lines of indentation collapse into impossible geometries of info hazard hell, a legacy that was tainted by domestic violence and self-destructive behavior. John died in a plane crash in 1997, the same year Ultima Online released. In their review of the incident, the National Transportation Safety Board suggested that the reason the plane went down was its eccentric fuel tank switching mechanism. After a morning of touch and goes, ascending and descending like the high breezes rolling over the Rockies, his primary tank was barren. He needed to swap to a full one. He couldn't. Fire and rain and all that. The man John Denver and the myth or tall tale of him differ, as is the case with many musicians from that era and every era and in any conceivable future. Much has been made about his anger with good reason. This dude literally cut his marital bed apart with a chainsaw in a property dispute with his ex-wife. My buddy once destroyed a table because of League of Legends. Oh, and something. Oh, hey, what the hell is this? What the fuck? Invade. Oh, it looks like I've invaded. Okay, well, I'm gonna try to get rid of. Oh, look, I'm cutting through it. Oh, John Denver. Okay, so my buddy once destroyed his table because of League of Legends. His rage and fist.
Hey, Rudy, what
split
did that paywall say?
I didn't read it. It was a paywall. I'm not sure what.
Okay, that's probably nothing to worry about.
Yeah, probably nothing important. His rage and his fist split it right in half. Anger issues are a big mood for me. That same friend will attest that on one of the occasions where he unselfishly braved the swamp gas and night fog to do a wellness check on me, I've given my face, hands, and 19. Oh, hey, what the fuck is this? Why did it come up again? I literally just clicked it. Like, that doesn't even make. So what does it say? Thanks for reading Last Mistake. Great you. Boo, I'm a ghost, and I want to hear Josh's opinion on alcohol consumption. Okay. And influence on a sexual partner's ability to. Okay. Well, that's really strange. So can I click? Okay. Oh. I'm not sure what. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Well, that's weird. But anyway, the anger issues. Where was I even? Oh God, the ghosts in my room are looking at me and shaking their heads clearly. All right. Anyway, multiplayer video games often have a glow surrounding them. One not unlike Denver's surface sheens. People love cowboys. They love standing for something. They adore displays of skill. But do they love Red Dead Redemption's multiplayer mode? The answer is complicated. But basically, yeah, they just have different ways of showing their love and their hate. And those ways often clash with other players' personal values. And those ways often piss people off a lot. But what does a dead cultural icon think? Uh-oh. Boo. I want to know who owns the most expensive pair of sunglasses. Boy, this paywall is really it's really channeling the vibes in this chat tonight. That's very strange. Can I, if I go down here to submit? Oh, nope. Okay, well, fair enough. I'll just John Denver my way through. It's taking an awfully long time to see cut through the damn thing here. Let me. Christ, what the? Is that good enough? Okay, no, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so continuing, I channeled the gentle bespectacled ghost of Mr. John Denver to find out and rank multiplayer game mechanics based on how angry I felt they would make him. So first we have killing other players, various games. Denver's lyrics from Paradise, and we'd shoot with our pistols, but empty pop bottles was all we would kill, suggests an almost Buddhist view of directed violence that comes from a life spent largely among nature. What would such a man say about the wanton destruction of virtual life with all of its game-related consequences, many measured in time spent, time wasted, and the shadow such a thing casts on the real human moodscape occupied by players? Since he was no stranger to nights spent drinking alone with everyone else present at 45 miles per hour, I have a hard time believing the ability to kill a virtual self, even one belonging to someone else, would have fazed John much. Those old bottles, after all, are just toys, hollow targets for sharpening his skill, and I feel like he would have seen game avatars the same way. Ultima Online's virtual yous were even known as paper dolls. Whether you're dressed in black robes with a Howley or dressed in neon with a cute mask, fucking trammy, it's all just a costume for a plaything. Do you wound the soul when you do pretend violence to a grainy sprite? Does the juicy hand-eye hoodoo of energy bolt and explosion landing on an enemy player act like pins jammed into an enchanted effigy representing a flesh and blood foe? It's my belief that John would say no to both questions, then quickly follow with, but I'd rather blow holes in old pop bottles because it's more satisfying, and I ain't no lord or British. I'm just a son of a country son. Anger rating, 1/4 tank of a fuel spent raging. The ability to chat globally, various games. Chat functionality has has infamously been the place in many games where the mask of player civility starts to slip. League of Legends, a cooperative romp notorious for its horrific community, even considered banning cross-team chat in games until presumably they realized that removing the main source of toxicity would kill the only thing people found compelling about their game. League uses the free within-game purchases economic model that's become popular with free-to-play games, allowing people to purchase cosmetics like skins that change how your characters look. I'm not saying there's an overlap between obsession with skins and a penchant for hurling insults that target skin color, but maybe Riot Games, the makers of League, feared killing the chat because of the backlash it would get from its biggest purchasers. Totally not saying that players who purchase skins in League are more toxic than average. Once again, I am not saying that people who purchase skins, like the one that gives Lucio Vitiligo, allegedly, are toxic or call people feeder niggers. But regardless, I wanted to see what one of the greatest bards of the 1960s and 70s thought about the ability to communicate remotely, semi-anonymously, and over the now ubiquitous network of pipes or some damn devilry that run above or underneath those country roads he sang so much about. I asked a corridor full of Jews, a self-described casually competitive League player, to interview the ghosts of John Denver, which the estate's conjurers may or may not have had success in summoning. He didn't say anything, but his presence, his mojo, was definitely felt. This is a conversation. A corridor full of Jews playing as Yasuo. Hey, faggot. Mr. John Denver playing as Bard. A corridor full of Jews. Hey, I'm talking to you. Mr. John Denver. A corridor full of Jews. You gonna leave the pad, fuckwit? Mr. John Denver. A corridor full of Jews. Fucking faggot, worst bard in a laugh my ass off. Mr. John Denver. Yeah. Anger rating? Question mark of a tank of fuel spent raging. Game Invasion, Dark Souls Trilogy, Elden Ring, From Software, 2010 to 2022. Imagine you're playing a game and someone just appears and slaps your face. That's a little bit like what games with player invasion mechanics, such as From Software's charmingly difficult Dark Souls series, allow for. These games connect players to the internet when they start, but then proceed as a mostly solo experience where you fight in a duel of wits against monsters and your own inability to learn from your mistakes. Dark Souls keeps players on their toes through encounters that are challenging but fathomable, through encounters with challenging but fathomable enemies, and occasionally throws a curveball in the form of another player barging into this rote struggle to completely fuck everything up. Having been invaded several times, I can say that the experience is jarring. Watching an enemy that moves like you with all the hesitation and cautiousness, crass opportunism of a conscious being, is a weird thing when you've been fighting AI-controlled bad guys for hours. For me, a social retard in real life, who is primarily pegged by Bartle as a socializer and killer, a lot of this game feels like the second verse in John Denver's Prisoners, a diligent fight against loneliness immersed in fantasy, awaiting signs of others that appear too infrequently. But I can't help but wondering what Denver, a world-class performer known for his love of his fellow man, would have thought of the social aspects of Dark Souls. It's hard to think that the idea of invaders, red-colored in a coincidental reversal of his Wooden Indian lyrics, being beaten into submission by a host and their spirit allies, white, again by coincidence, wouldn't warm his heart a little bit. Then again, the home, at least the idea of it, was seemingly a sacred place to him. Just the concept of being allowed to transgress the sanctity of privacy, even for fun, might piss him off. I can picture John imbibing a little bit too much Estus, sensing some mortal threat to Annie or the children, a big part of his life, because as he put it, I'll tell you the best thing about me. I'm some guy's dad. I'm some little gal's dad. Then turning his fully upgraded scythe from farm and tool to castle doctor and enforcer in a heartbeat. Anger rating, about half of a tank of fuel spent raging. And last we have Tails' ability to carry Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Sega 1994. Here's how socially retarded I am. I can't help but turn pro-social game mechanics on their head and can't understand why people get pissed when I do this. Ask anyone who will admit to playing Dungeons and Dragons with me if you can find them. Ask the administrators of Starsiege Tribe servers running the mod where a certain weapon can kill people even with team damage set to off. You definitely won't be able to find them. Ask my therapist, Waylon. You can probably find him, but please don't do this, or I'll have to answer hard questions like, do you think you're still grieving for your dad? What feelings are behind the anger? Or why the fuck would you give out my name in an article you wrote for a real estate website? Long story short, the popular platformer Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was a two-player game. It allowed one person to play as Sonic and one to play as Tails. Tails could fly and swim. Tails could pick Sonic up and carry him to help him with his platforming activities, getting to higher place, traveling over lava, etc., etc. Tails could also be a complete fucking piece of shit, and I must have been raised in a barn, just not in the good Colorado subsistence farming way, because this is how I always did it, by moving Sonic into obstacles that could kill him, or at least make him lose his precious rings. Regarding his marriage to actress Cassandra Delaney, John Denver once said, "She managed to make a fool of me from one end of the valley to the other." I was going to say that's what I did with Tails, slamming my friends into spike traps, treading water just above them so they couldn't complete a tenuous underwater jump while their breath ran out, or treating them like I was Muhammad Atta and they were just along for the death ride in the boss battle where Sonic has no choice but to be carried by Tails. But I won't. I won't, because I was actually the fool. The autist, really. I'm the fucking moron who didn't get that when you fuck with people, fuck with them until they pull your controller out of the socket in frustration. They'll be unlikely to play with you in the future. I'm still that fool. What nice things could John Denver, a charitable right-ways man who did a benefit concert for the victims of Chernobyl, say about me? I'm a social recluse, a shy away from work neat, who makes things for an outsider website, I guess. I'm a game designer whose work-life balance philosophy is like a dark version of the narrator, and thank God I'm a country boy who plays Sally good and all fucking day and doesn't give a fuck about the Lord or his wife. If anything, John would be angry at me. He wouldn't blame the Sonic team devs, and that's fine since frankly, they're blamed for every fucking other thing. He would start revving up in my room, freshly gassed and ready to do tons of damage, like a damn freak. The fact that my bed is a mattress on the floor might hinder his cutting it up, especially if he stops to give me life lessons in his gentle Midwestern tone. He would do a double take at my walls. Why are these already destroyed, is what I imagine him saying, as he stands there mumbling about the vaguely maroon-colored stains and battered sheetrock. He would run through the door or through the house, kicking imaginary doors off their hinges, which, like in Schindler's List, would amount to a small pile, maybe, depending on the state of disrepair my home is currently in. He might trip on a sideways plant. Is that a marijuana reference or just more filth? But being a decent, honest, and compassionate guy, at least with strangers who gave him adoration, Mr. John Denver would probably become more sad than frustrated, then go outside and use his chainsaw to cut some timber. Wood for the winter is what he'd say as he pointed to the fruits of his labor. And please, clean your gosh darn life up, if you can. Anger rating, a full tank of fuel spent raging and cutting lumber. And that's it.
Fuck.
And I guess I'll, yeah.
Dude, that was so good. I like. Also, I really like your bio that you wrote. That was awesome.
Oh, for the site. Yeah, thanks. Oh boy. Oh, did I crash William?
Oh.
Still rip. I still got the recording though, so we still good.
While you were reading, I was looking for the source code thing for the paywall and invasion client. Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah. Oh, you found it. Okay.
I may have been unable to mute my mic for a minute there because of some background program that was running on my computer that had nothing to do with Rudy's reading, right?
Right.
I have to ask a question though. While Rudy was reading, did anyone get their own paywall? Oh, shit.
Somebody. Oh, okay.
Yes, it took a while, but it came up. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. Oh, so other people jumped onto that. Okay, cool. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Rudy, do you want to explain the magic here? Is it time to like let people know how this fucking thing works?
Yeah, sure. So basically there's a program that's in the background here on this site. This is the last estate. It's just an article, but you can put HTML embedded in articles. So there's a program that I made embedded in the article that connects everyone to someone on our end, basically. In this case, it was William, and they can send a paywall to them. They can see each instance of the of people reading. Each person reading is basically like an instance, pretty much. So they can see anybody reading the article and browsing it, and they can send them a personalized paywall. That's how it works.
Now, most of the time, there's no way to know who's reading what, right?
We don't know who it is because there's no we wouldn't be able to tell because there's no personally identifying information. But yeah.
If anyone read this article earlier this week and thought the paywall was just a script, just like a bot that made it pop up, it's not. There's a dude, Rudy. Most of the time it was Rudy, but sometimes me or someone else for the last estate who's writing each of those paywalls while you read and hitting this button to send it to you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so magical.
What? Yeah. One that I use. Actually, Eris will appreciate this. Is Kurt Cobain's suicide note to his friend.
I mean, I was gonna say like you referenced Schindler's List in the article, and that was like the last movie they watched together. So did you know that they also wrote a Christmas play? Okay.
Damn, no, I didn't know that. Damn.
Wait, Kurt Cobain and Schindler wrote a Christmas play?
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that Kurt and Courtney did that, but no, that's basically how it works. Not.
No, that's so rad. When Rudy showed me this program, I was like, holy shit. But the article is good too. The article is very good, actually. And I love the way it gets like so disarmingly personal at the end, the stuff with your therapist, and the real estate website joke had me fucking rolling.
Yes, it adds like the perfect amount of like tension that keeps you just so like engrossed in it.
So anyway, thank you, Rudy. I am going to end the reading now because I want to make sure that my computer doesn't crash. But I will leave the Zoom meeting up for a little bit anyway if people want to chat or whatever. So anyway, this has been Misery Loves Company. As I said at the top, we do this every week, every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. We tweet out the link to the Zoom meeting from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism, all one word. Anyone is welcome to come and read, and anyone is welcome to come and just lurk and hang out and listen to other people read. Okay, that's it. This has been a long night. Rudy, if you want to end the recording, let's fucking end it here.